Diba? Diba? Wala. Wala. Palitan nyo. Okay, sir, pacheck lang na. Okay to. Okay, good morning. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please settle down. The Committee on Dangerous Drugs hearing is now called to order.
On the part of the Committee on Health, the meeting is now called to order.
Of course, before we start, we'd like to ask the committee secretary to please lead the prayer. Thank you, Comsec. Comsec, please call the roll of the members who are present in this committee hearing. Sira eh. Hindi kayo nagbabayad. Ito na lang, ito na lang.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Chairman Barbers, and Chairman Gato. And good morning, all members of this committee. For this meeting, we invited the following resource persons. For the DOH, we invited Dr. Teodoro Herbosa, but he is represented here by his staff. The PIDEA is also invited, and it's represented by Attorney Firdausi Masnar, Attorney Joel El Maggio, Attorney Dayan Domingo. For the DILG, it is represented here by Attorney Ralph Jerome Ifurong. For the PNP, we have Police Colonel Junicio Bartolome Jr., Police Captain Foncardas, Police Lieutenant Colonel Ella Cristina Colangen. For the Cana Hopefuls Incorporated, we have Dr. Donabel Trias Conanan and Miss Girly Cleofas. We have also Miss Maria Guadaline Reyes, the chairperson and co-founder of Sensible Philippines, and also Miss Grace Ibuna. We have also Ms. Zara Oitingban Cruz, a member and board of trustees of Haraya Policy Center, Dr. Richard Nixon of Bauer Tech Corporation, Mr. Ralph Jonathan Ignacio of UP Los Baños, Mrs. Sosa Joyce Sirunay of the Food and Drug Administration, Dr. Herna Manatad, and Maria Teresa Torres of PTAC DOH. The members present. Members. The DDB is also represented by the Attorney Masnar. And for the members, thank you, members. There we have with us our members, Congressman Romeo Acop, Congressman Reyes, Congresswoman Jinke Beatrix Luistro, Congressman El Rey Villafuerte, Congressman Caraps Paduano, Congressman Anthony Goles, and that's all. And the chairman, of course, Chairman Gato. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Comsec. Okay, before we proceed, please allow the chair to deliver his opening remarks, and after the chair delivers his remarks in behalf of the Committee on Dangerous Drugs, I will pass on the opportunity to the chairman of the Committee on Health. This is a joint committee hearing wherein a very important piece of legislation is being will be deliberated upon. And for the benefit of those who just attended, in the previous committee hearings of the Committee on Dangerous Drugs and Committee on Health, we have formed a TWG, a technical working group, to specifically deliberate and tackle provisions of the proposed legislation by several House members. Just to give you a summary, we have more or less 10 bills, proposed bills, which discusses medical cannabis as its subject. And since this is a very interesting and equally controversial subject, we deemed it necessary to let the chairman of the Committee on Health, who is a medical practitioner, and the vice chair, Congressman Anthony Goles, and of course on the legal aspect of this, our lawyer as a member of the committee, Congresswoman Beatrix Luistro. So let me just be clear that the objective of the proposed legislation is not to allow or delist cannabis in the enumeration under the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Law. Ang pinopropose lamang po ng bill na ito ay i-allow yung cannabis as for medical intervention. And I would like to acknowledge the efforts given by the chairpersons of the TWG, as well as the resource persons, who have contributed a lot in coming up with a TWG committee report. And I will not let this day pass without recognizing the efforts of Congresswoman Beatrix Luistro for going his trip abroad just to be the chair of the committee of the TWG, as well as Congressman Anthony Goles, who likewise sacrificed his trip abroad in order to expedite the approval of the TWG committee report. We will open the discussion later after we hear the remarks of the co-chair of the Committee on Health. But let me assure the public, and I'd like to reiterate that this is not an effort to delist cannabis in the enumeration of the dangerous drugs under the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Law. So at this juncture, I'll pass on the opportunity to the co-chair of the committee, the chairman of the Committee on Health, Congressman Ciriaco Gato.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, Honorable Barbers. Let me read a brief statement. Good morning, everyone. Distinguished members of the committee and dangerous drugs and the health authors and esteemed guests. In the agenda of the committee meeting today is the unnumbered draft substitute bill entitled An Act Providing Right of Access to Medical Cannabis, establishing the Medical Cannabis Office and providing funds therefore. In substitution of House Bills numbered 241, 243, 2007, 4208, 4638, 4866, 6783, 7616, 7817, and 9028. The Joint Committee held a meeting for the initial deliberation of the said measures on August 1 last year. A technical working group or TWG was formed, and our respective vice chairpersons, Honorable Anthony Rolando Goles Jr. and Honorable Attorney Jervil Luistro were appointed as TWG co-chairs. The two TWG meetings held on November 21 and November 29, 2023 were participated in by some of our authors and resource persons who gave valuable inputs into consolidating all these measures to come up with a version that we will present to the mother committees today. So we hope we will be able to thoroughly discuss, deliberate on the report of the joint TWG meeting, and we hope that we can resolve the different controversial provisions under this proposed bill. Thank you very much, and
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before we proceed with the deliberations, let me acknowledge the presence of one of the principal authors, Honorable Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo. Ma'am, good morning, ma'am. So we will now proceed and allow the chair of the TWG to present to the mother committee the TWG committee report. Congresswoman Luistro, you're recognized. Oh, by the way, siguro for clearer facilitation of the TWG committee reports amendment or proposed amendment, because we might be what we intend to do is we'll go section by section, and those that would like to propose amendments among the members may do so by calling the attention of the chair. And for our resource persons as well, please call the attention of the committee secretary if you wish to make additional inputs or propose amendments to the section that we will be discussing. So one by one yung ating approach dun sa ating committee report. Congresswoman Luistro, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning to everyone, most especially to Chair Barbers of the Committee on Dangerous Drugs, Chair Gato of the Committee on Health, to my co-chair of the TWG, Congoles, to the principal authors, co-authors of this proposed bill, and of course to our former President GMA, to all our resource speakers, good morning to each and every one of you. While we agreed that we will be visiting this provision section by section, please allow this representation to share with this joint committee the summary of the substitute bill that we are proposing, the joint committee report, the TWG report that we will be presenting. So on August 1, 2023, the Committee on Dangerous Drugs and the Committee on Health created a TWG to tackle medical cannabis bills. This include HB 241 by Rep. Antonio Tonypet Albano, HB 200 by Rep. Ray T. Reyes, HB 4638 by Rep. Jay-Jay Suarez, HB 4866 by Rep. Midy Cua, HB 7817 by Rep. Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, HB 9028 by Reps. Eric Go Yap and Edvic G. Yap, HB 4208 by Reps. Raymond Luis El Rey Villafuerte, Rep. Miguel Luis Villafuerte, Rep. Anthony Horibata, and Rep. Nicolas Enciso T8. It includes also HB 243 of Rep. Antonio Tonypet Albano, HB 6783 of Rep. Pantaleon Alvarez, and HB 7616 by Rep. Midy Cua. Of the bills referred to the TWG, 3 bills seek to delist marijuana from the list of dangerous drugs as provided for under RA 9165. These are HB 243, HB 6783, and HB 7616. It was expressed already by Chair Barbers that the inclination of the Joint Committee is not to delist, but to maintain cannabis among the list of prohibited drugs in RA 9165. And the clear intention of the Joint Committee is only to legalize the use of cannabis for medical purposes. The TWG decided to focus on the right of access to medical cannabis. Hence, the last 3 bills on the listing of marijuana were not lengthily deliberated on by the TWG and may need further deliberation by the mother committees. The TWG conducted 2 extensive hearings for medical cannabis. These were held on November 21, 2023 and November 29, 2023. The TWG invited stakeholders such as civil society or NGOs advocating for the legalization of medical cannabis, many of whom are present today. We also invited law enforcement agencies, particularly the PIDEA, the NBI, and the PNP. There were oppositions too, as articulated by the Philippine Medical Association, the UPPGH National Poison Management and Control Center, Dr. Tony Liachon, who maintained that there is no need to pass the proposed law as we have enough laws and regulations. They, however, support further studies on the matter. They all, however, provided invaluable inputs in drafting the substitute bill, and the TWG is grateful to all of them. In the last TWG hearing on November 29, 2023, the TWG decided to terminate the TWG and directed the Secretariat to prepare a substitute bill to be presented for the consideration and, if warranted, approval of the mother committees. For the TWG, the main concerns or bottom line in passing this bill are the following. Number 1, to legalize the use of medical cannabis. Number 2, access to medical cannabis is only for qualified patients. And number 3, safeguards and regulations are in place to avoid abuse. To make medical cannabis legal, accessible, and regulated, these are the concerns which the TWG hope to have addressed by the substitute bill. With this report, it is now up to the mother committees, the Committee on Dangerous Drugs, and the Committee on Health to continue on the refinement and review of the provisions of the proposed law. Let this representation likewise share the salient points of the substitute bill. With respect to the objectives, the substance is to legalize and make medical cannabis accessible for the benefit of patients suffering from certain medical conditions, to establish an office that will ensure accessibility of medical cannabis, but will regulate the same to ensure that only qualified patients will have access to medical cannabis through authorized physicians and medical personnel and through accredited dispensaries. Finally, to encourage research and development and welcome investments in accordance with existing laws on investments. The key provisions under Section 4, please be guided by the copy of the substitute bill. It is now clearly stated that access to medical cannabis shall be allowed for medical use by qualified patients subject to the provisions of this Act. This provision sums up the objectives of the law. We proceed to Section 5. The Medical Cannabis Office, MCO, is established to be the primary regulatory body for medical cannabis under the direct supervision and control of the Department of Health. And for policy and program coordination, the DOH shall coordinate with the DDB and other related agencies. We proceed to Section 6 to 7, which mandate the MCO on the following. 1, ensure that medical cannabis shall only be accessed through authorized and licensed hospitals, clinics, drugstores, and other medical facilities authorized and licensed by the MCO. 2, ensure that only accredited physicians shall prescribe medical cannabis to qualified patients, enough supply of the medicine to last not more than 1 year. 3, ensure that appropriate dispensation of medical cannabis through an accredited licensed pharmacist in authorized hospitals and clinics and shall not release more than the prescribed dosage. 4, issue guidelines with respect to cultivation, importation, production, and distribution of medical cannabis, which shall be included in the implementing rules of this Act. 5, issue guidelines and authorize research. And 6, submit an annual report to the President of the Philippines, the Senate President, and the Speaker of the House. We proceed to Section 8, mandates the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, to determine the potency, consistency, safety, and efficacy of all medical cannabis products prior to its distribution, dispensation, and sale. Section 6, Paragraph 3 provides that only medical cannabis that have passed the testing by FDA shall be made available to the public. Section 9, the CHED, the Commission on Higher Education, is also mandated to develop a subject or course on medical cannabis for colleges and universities. On Section 10, cultivation, importation, production, and distribution, as well as research, are allowed subject to regulations. On Section 13, there will be creation of Joint Congressional Oversight Committee on Medical Cannabis to conduct an annual review of the implementation of this Act. For Section 14, we are inclined to believe Section 14 defined the penalties. We are inclined to believe that when the corpus is medical cannabis, the law violated is the medical cannabis law. The concerned agency, therefore, is the MCO under DOH. But when the corpus is cannabis, not medical, the law violated is the Dangerous Drugs Law, or RA 9165. Here, the concerned agency is the DDB and the PIDEA. This is the consequence of the intention of the Joint Committee of not delisting cannabis from the list of prohibited drugs under RA 9165. With respect to medical cannabis, the violation we perceive include importation without permit, selling without permit, planting and growing without permit, prescription and administration by non-accredited medical professionals, prescription for more than 1 year, use without prescription, use beyond prescribed dosage, and finally, research without permit. We wish to seek the wisdom of the Joint Committee. If similar to RA 9165, we will be considering the volume of the medical cannabis involved for the purpose of defining the penalties of this act. For Section 16 on appropriation, we provided 1 billion pesos as initial budget, considering the requirement of the creation of the new office and the installation of the new system. In conclusion, the TWG, through this chair, with co-chair Kong Anthony Goles, would like to thank the Committee on Dangerous Drugs, led by Chair Barbers, and the Committee on Health, led by Chair Gato Jr., for giving us the chance to contribute in drafting this very important piece of legislation. We are also grateful to our resource persons for their invaluable inputs that made the substitute bill a people's version. And finally, we thank the authors of medical cannabis bills for being gracious, open-minded, and humble to accept suggestions that harmonize all their bills into this substitute bill. On behalf of the TWG, I respectfully submit our proposed substitute bill for the consideration of the Committee on Dangerous Drugs and the Committee on Health. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman Luistro. May we now ask the co-chair of the TWG to deliver likewise his opening remarks. Congressman Goles, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. Good morning to our chairpersons, Chairman Barbers, Gato, my TWG co-chair, Congresswoman Luistro, former President, Congresswoman Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, distinguished House members, and esteemed guests. On behalf of the Committee on Health, we shall now present to you the draft substitute bill entitled the Act Providing Right of Access to Medical Cannabis, establishing the Medical Cannabis Office, and providing funds therefor. This is a product of two technical working groups, as mentioned earlier, held in November last year, and we'd like to inform everybody on salient points relatedly. The most important feature of this proposed law is allowing the access. We have expounded a lot about the access to this medical cannabis, and it's only going to be for medical use by qualified patients. Qualified patients are persons who have been diagnosed by an accredited physician as having a debilitating or non-debilitating medical condition, and who, in the authorized physician's evaluation, should receive medical cannabis as treatment. This measure also creates the Medical Cannabis Office, or the MCO, which shall be the direct control and supervision of the Department of Health. It shall be the primary regulatory body for medical cannabis and shall have administrative, regulatory, and monitoring functions. The MCO shall ensure that medical cannabis shall only be accessed through hospitals, clinics, drugstores, and other medical facilities authorized and licensed by the MCO for the use of qualified patients. It shall also ensure that only accredited physicians shall prescribe medical cannabis to said qualified patients. The MCO is also mandated to issue guidelines on cultivation, importation, production, and distribution of medical cannabis. The MCO shall also authorize government and accredit private institutions, state colleges and universities, and qualified physicians to conduct research on the use of medical cannabis. Lastly, this measure lays out the important role of the Food and Drug Administration in determining and ensuring the potency, consistency, efficacy, safety, and efficiency of all medical cannabis products prior to its distribution, dispensation, and sale. It also lays out a crucial role of the Commission on Higher Education in ensuring human resource for health for medical cannabis. I am looking forward to a fruitful discussion on this measure and its eventual approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman Goles. Congressman Gato.
Before we proceed, we'd like to acknowledge the presence of a Committee on Health member, Honorable Jane T. Castro of the 2nd District of Capiz. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman, and of course, Congressman Serge Dagook is likewise present in this committee hearing. So as we stated earlier, we will go section by section. And for the members who wish to provide inputs or amendments to the section that will be discussed, please ask the chair to acknowledge you, to give you the opportunity to state your amendment, your objection, or whatever it is that you wish to say. So we'll start with the section 1. So if there are no comments from our honorable members and our resource persons, we'll move on to section 2. Section 2 is declaration of policy. Before we acknowledge our members, let me state for the record the observation of the chair as to the declaration of policy. I strongly believe that we should state in our declaration of policy that this is for medical intervention only, and recreational use would still be punishable under the law. So I propose that when we write the declaration of policy, my humble suggestion is to delete the second paragraph. The state shall provide measures to achieve, etc., and replace it with the state has long pursued intensive and unrelenting campaign against illegal drug trafficking, while it aims to balance and harmonize with the imperative to safeguard people's right to health. Accordingly, the prohibitions outlined in RA 9165 and other related laws should not extend to medical cannabis intended for the treatment and medication of qualified patients with debilitating medical conditions. The state's policy thus dictates that access to medical cannabis shall serve only as a delimited exception. My point is that we should specify that this is just an exception to the general rule that cannabis would still be a prohibited and dangerous drugs. So delimited exception to the prohibited acts involving cannabis or marijuana under Republic Act 9165. I submit. Is there any comment?
Mr. Chair, as one of the authors of the bill, I wholeheartedly endorse your version.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Congressman.
I endorse and support your amendment or revision. While we will tackle later on the terms, in your proposal, the word qualified patient is there. And when Congressman Goles was delivering his speech, he mentioned that qualified patients are those with debilitating and non-debilitating conditions. Is that correct? You mentioned that none. It will be tackled later. But what I'm saying kasi later siguro,
Yeah.
The word qualified should be, as per the draft bill, it's only for debilitating conditions. So later I will tackle that.
Okay, Congressman Villafuerte, you may propose the phrase that you'd like to insert in the provision, provided that the
I'm okay
members.
with the word qualified patients, but later on we have to qualify who are the qualified, because as per the draft bill, it's only those with debilitating. See, cannabis has topical applications. If you have a simple inflammation, that's not debilitating.
We'll give you the floor at the appropriate time, Your Honor.
I'm okay with your proposal, and later on, I just like to further discuss what a qualified patient means. Thank you.
Thank you.
But I'm okay with the word qualified.
Thank you, Congressman Villafuerte. Any comments from our resource persons as to the proposed paragraph in Section 2, Declaration of Policy? If there's none, Mr. Manansala?
Suportado po ng Masikay Research yung inyong panukala. We wholeheartedly support it.
Maraming
In
salamat.
fact, yung kabuuan po nitong bill na to ay napakalaking improvement to sa maski na sa tinanggap namin by email, at nakakatuwa po na mukhang makakarating na tayo sa ating patutunguhan.
Maraming salamat po, Mr. Manansala. So, if there's no other member or any resource, can you please identify yourself?
Mr. Chair, good morning. State Counsel De Malanta from the Department of Justice. Well, we also agree with the proposed wordings for Section 2 of the substitute draft bill. May we also take into consideration the general obligations under 96 UN Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs, where the general obligations provide its limit exclusively to medical and scientific purposes, because the substitute bill also allows for the research of the use. So if maybe proposed to also include the scientific purposes.
So you wish to add scientific research?
If the
Yeah,
if the body allows for such. And also, Mr. Chair, we will also be providing our formal comments on the
okay, that's good.
substitute bill. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for that. Comsec, please take note of the comments of DOJ, no? DOJ. And if before we finalize everything, we will include their proposed amendments, and subject to style, the mother committee will approve it. Okay, so before we proceed to the next section, let me acknowledge the presence of Congressman Steve Chongbian. Welcome to the Committee on Dangerous Drugs Committee hearing and the Committee on Health. So, Section 3, definition of terms. On paragraph A, any comment? No comment from our members? No comment, amendments from anybody, from Chairman Gato?
Just for clarification, is medical cannabis legal?
We will legalize. We will attempt to legalize.
Is it already legal? Because medical cannabis is already being allowed by the FDA. So I would assume that it is already legal. So to say that we will be legalizing medical cannabis is, I think, redundant, if I may say.
Saan nakalagay?
So may I ask,
FDA.
the FDA is a medical cannabis legal?
Good morning, everyone. I am Director Joyce Serunay. Following the context of a compassionate special permit, we do allow However, we also seek approval from DDB PIDEA once this will be brought in. But there is a pathway under RA 9711, which we call compassionate special permit, very specific to the patient, and the doctor will be the one to apply. Thank you.
So, if the answer yes, is it legal?
Thank you. Under the context of CSP, it is legal. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. And how many forms of medical cannabis are allowed or legal to be used under the compassionate use of medicine?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For as long as it is a finished product and the requirements under under the compassionate special permit will be adhered to, we will allow its use with a very specific, or it's a limited use between how the doctor will request FDA for such a permit going to one patient. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So following that response from the FDA, my understanding in the last sentence in the proposed amendment by Honorable Chair, it is no longer an exception.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, can I say something? While I respect the opinion of our honorable colleague, the fact that there's a word special permit, there's question and ambiguity. It's not legal per se. That's why we want to pass a law. Although the UN has already reclassified cannabis and resins under international listing that recognizes medical value, it's still case to case per country. And in this case, if you are caught with cannabis, whether CBD, you will be penalized. So it's illegal in that sense. For example, you come from the States and you bring in a medical cannabis only in topical form, you will be arrested and penalized under the dangerous drug law. So it's illegal. While we allow special permits to procure from abroad, it's really illegal, and that's why we're correcting that flaw, because despite the fact that they are allowing special permits, during the last hearing, I asked them, there's only one application or one what has approved for years because it's so tedious and hard and expensive. So I think in answer to that, it's illegal because if you're caught, you will be penalized.
My understanding is that the law that we are deliberating, that the bill that we are deliberating is limited to the medical cannabis, not cannabis in general. Only the medical cannabis. That's why I was asking, is medical cannabis legal? Because if it is legal, then there is no need to say we will be legalizing medical cannabis. And therefore, the last sentence of the state policy as an exception no longer is applicable, because medical cannabis, if we limit the medical cannabis to this particular bill or to this report, then my point is that it's no longer an exception because we are dealing with a legal substance, the medical cannabis,
Mr.
not
Chairman,
cannabis in general.
Mr. Chairman, I was referring also to medical cannabis. Medical cannabis in all its forms is illegal in our country.
Okay. So, thank you, Congressman Villafuerte. In response to the query of and the statement made by Congressman Chairman Gato, we clearly specified in the declaration of policy that medical cannabis use is only an exception to the general rule, because as it is today, as we speak, medical cannabis is still illegal. And it is still listed as a prohibited and dangerous.
And Mr. Chair, I will add, nobody has questioned that special permit. But if I question them now, what gave them the right? There's no legal basis for them to give a special permit. So it doesn't mean that there's a special permit, it somewhat legalizes it. I mean, if I question them now, what is the basis of the special permit? Executive order, act of Congress? Maybe they can answer that.
The FDA,
But still, it's questionable.
yeah,
And what we're trying to cure here is to make it clear.
exactly what our amendment to the declaration of policy is. Kasi as it is, no, as we speak, it's still illegal. And no amount of administrative order will legalize the use of that. And apparently, the administrative order was issued by the FDA under the context of compassionate special permit. No? But again, that doesn't legalize the use of medical cannabis at the moment in our country. Kaya nga, pinag-aaralan natin, gusto natin illegalize and maging accessible because medical cannabis is what we believe could be, no? Could be an alternative medical intervention to some debilitating illnesses. So, yes, Congressman.
I just like to add, I second Congressman El Rey because I'll give an example. During COVID, I know the FDA were also giving compassionate special permit to the use of ivermectin because I think they were trying to see if it worked or not. But it was still illegal to be distributing and selling that except for, let's say, a certain hospital, diba? Given a compassionate special permit. So I agree with Kong El Rey. I think we just need to make it clearer that we need to legalize it for the greater use of medical marijuana.
Thank
Mr.
you,
Chair.
Congressman Chongbian. Yes, Congressman Goles.
Mr. Chair, we would like to instruct the FDA to submit to the Committee on Health the document that allows you to give compassionate special permit on medical cannabis, if there is.
We will, Honorable Congressman, we will provide, will it be okay tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
We would like to see that admin order or executive order, whatever orders you have, that's explicitly mentions medical cannabis. Thank you.
Yes, we will. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Goles. Congresswoman Luistro.
Mr. Chair, with all due respect to our colleagues, but I strongly subscribe to the position of Kong El Rey Villafuerte because the basis of your compassionate special permit is a mere administrative order.
Yeah.
In the face of a substantive law, which is the Dangerous Drugs Law, RA 9165, the issuance of AO number 4 is considered ultra vires because it is beyond the mandate and the provisions of the substantive law, which is RA 9165. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congresswoman Luistro. So, are there any? Dr. Cunanan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. So, in addition to that, Congressman Gato is as a patient organization, I'm the president of the patient organization, actively pushing for this since 2013. I personally applied for the compassionate special permit. So I can really attest to all of you here that the CSP is highly inaccessible. The process is very tedious, and at the same time, for a very common citizen, it's really not legally acceptable for us. Thank you.
So if we are saying that medical cannabis is illegal at present, this bill effectively legalizes medical cannabis. Am I correct?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Congressman Ako.
the representative of the FDA mentioned the law a while ago, in her answer to the query of the Honorable Gato, our chairman, may I know what law was she speaking about insofar as compassionate special permit is concerned? As far as I know, there's no law about this.
FDA, please reply.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We have one is the administrative order that is written in our position paper that allows FDA to issue it's a compassionate special permit. Furthermore, it is also the right to health for those patients that don't have access to medicines. However, if it is based on the Honorable Congressman's assessment, then the law that is currently being drafted would really allow such product, because for the FDA, it's the right to health. There is no product available in the market, and our patients do need it. But yes, the compassionate special permit also has an approval from DDB and PIDEA for it to be brought in if it is under 9165. However, currently, based on the assessment of the Honorable Congressman, we only have the administrative order that allows us this, and for the Filipinos, the right to health. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I just have one question. I have here a copy.
Congressman Villafuerte, with the indulgence.
Sorry, sir. Go ahead.
You said that your compassionate special permit is pursuant to an administrative order. Now, may I know your definition of a compassionate special permit? You're the one who brought this out. May I know your definition of a compassionate special permit?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. A compassionate special permit, if we will cap it in a very simple layman's term, is a product that is not available in the Philippines. And there are Filipinos that are needing it. That's the only cap that I can define easily. Otherwise, I'll have to read the administrative order, Mr. Chair. But that's the cap. It is not available in the Philippines, and many Filipinos are needing it while waiting for importers to bring it in. At least this one will already give access to the medicines that are needed by our fellow Filipinos. But as already stated, there is really a requirement for the applicant to prove that it is what is needed by our fellow Filipinos while waiting for an importer to import it in full and get a marketing authorization. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I'm not questioning the need. I'm just questioning the legal basis. Because pursuant to the definition given by the DOH, insofar as compassionate special permit is concerned, I would like to quote, compassionate special permit, or known as CSP, refers to a special permit signed by the FDA Director General granting a qualified institution such as the Department of Health, a specialized institution, and a DOH licensed hospital or a qualified licensed physician the privilege to avail an unregistered or unauthorized drug product, vaccine, or medical device through an FDA licensed establishment for its restricted use. If I interpret this definition of the compassionate special permit, it will amend the provisions of Republic Act 9165 Kasi unauthorized drug product, they can do so. When in fact, it is prohibited by Republic Act 9165. That is my issue, Mr. Chair.
With the indulgence of Congressman Acap, can I just ask a simple question in line with your questioning?
Yes.
Yung gusto ko lang malaman, aside from medical cannabis, ano ba yung illegal substance or drug na you're allowing to bring in? I mean,
Yes.
you're an illegal, unregistered drug substance that's been issued a special permit. I'm just curious, in line with the question of Representative Acop. It's not available here that you issued the permit that's unregistered, illegal, in the context of compassion.
FDA.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. In the context of CSP, for as long as it's unregistered, you cannot buy it here. Then, based on the criteria, they can apply.
My question is, what other unregistered drug, device, or illegal substance that you allowed to be brought in here through a compassionate special permit?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I need to revert to my office for the list.
So when you say a list, marami po yun.
I will check, Honorable Congressman, if we do have other products. However, for the release of a restricted, like Epidulex, we coordinated with our colleagues in government.
I'm not talking
PDEA and
about
BBB.
Epidulex. Epidulex is medical cannabis.
Opo.
I'm asking unregistered drugs other than medical cannabis.
I have to check with our office for the list. And we can revert and submit along with the request of Congressman Goles tomorrow.
Yeah, please submit as soon as possible because we don't want FDA, DOH to be circumventing the law through a special permit by issuing or allowing importation of these substances. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Congressman
you.
Acap, maraming salamat.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, please proceed.
if we go over the Republic Act, which is the charter, Republic Act number 9711, which is the charter of the FDA, there's no made mention of their power or authority to issue a compassionate special permit. That is why I'm asking the basis why they arrogated unto themselves the power to issue such. And in their definition, it would amend certain provisions of laws. An administrative order cannot rise over and above an express provision of law, Mr. Chair. That is my point. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Acop. Your observation is noted. And may I know lang, just a short question. Who signed the administrative order? Secretary Flavia.
Thank you, Mr. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. It's the Secretary of Health when the AO was put forth at the Department of Health.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mr.
for that
Chair.
information. The observation of Congressman Acop is noted, and we will tackle that issue separately after we finish this technical working group committee report. Yes, Congressman Gato.
FDA, in the compassionate special permit, are there other marijuana, medical marijuana preparation that has been given the compassionate special permit aside from the brand that you mentioned? Is that the only medical marijuana brand that is being given that special permit?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Currently, we only issued one compassionate special permit, finished form cannabinol, brand name Epidulex. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Congressman Gato. Now, can we move on to the, let me go back first to Section 3, Paragraph A. If there are no comments, no amendments, we can move on to the next. So There's no comments or amendments. Now we move on to paragraph B of section 3. Any comments from our members? From our resource persons? So there's none. Mr. Manansala, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Regarding the issue of where to plant, in the other versions of our bills, the word greenhouses were included, and it is not included here in the description of an outdoor area with an enclosed perimeter and closet room or other comparable stationary and fully enclosed area equipped with secured locks or other functioning devices. Maybe we should include the approving greenhouses as part of the closed lock facility.
So
Mr. Chair, when you see outdoor area, let's already leave it to that because, outdoor area can include greenhouses and other things. Once you include greenhouse, might limit. Outdoor area is very general and broad as long as there's a perimeter. You can put a greenhouse in an outdoor, but I think adding that will just...
Yeah, maybe in
It's
the
already all encompassing outdoor area.
maybe it should be better tackled in the IRR because it is already included in the outdoor area definition.
okay, that's good.
Right.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Manansala.
Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Villafuerte. So, are there any comments on paragraph B, section 3? If none, we move on now to paragraph C of section 3. Honorable members, do you have any comments?
Mr. Chair, as mentioned earlier, I have no question with the letter C, but I might want to add a D. We have to define a non-debilitating condition which might require medical cannabis. Debilitating means serious, no? But there are patients that are qualified to have medical cannabis that are not non-debilitating.
Okay, what do you propose to be included in this paragraph?
I want to add a letter D, non-debilitating.
Letter D in the paragraph.
No,
in
no,
paragraph C.
because you have a qualified debilitating, but I think we have to put another section, non-debilitating. Because in section G, qualified patients are only those with debilitating.
Okay, so in section C, you don't want to specify non-debilitating.
You can just put letter D and say non-debilitating, period. A new
No, okay.
subsection ba tawag dyan?
If the intention is to include non-debilitating illness to be treated with medical cannabis, perhaps it would be easier and more clear if we put another letter.
Yes, that's my suggestion,
Maybe
sir.
EFG H, letter H. But we'll go there later.
No, we can do it kasi para magkakasunod, letter D yun, then yung the D will be E, E will be F, F will be G.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Are there any comments from our members with the proposed amendment of Congressman Villafuerte? Congressman Goles.
Mr. Chair, for the definition of non-debilitating conditions, if I can give a suggestion for so that we can already write it down.
Yes, Congressman Goles, please proceed.
Non-debilitating conditions encompass a range of medical issues that, although not severe disabling, can still impact an individual's well-being and quality of life. These conditions may include common symptoms, mild disorders, or chronic issues that do not necessarily prevent individuals from carrying out daily activities but can cause discomfort or distress.
Okay, can you, is Congressman Villafuerte okay with the
Yes, I'm okay
proposal?
with that.
Anybody else would like to state for the record that they're okay with the proposed amendment? We'll call first the members, and then later on we'll call the resource persons. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, you are a member, ma'am, but I'm referring to Dr. Kunanan. The girl beside you, because she was raising her hand too. Congressman Reyes?
Approve.
Okay, so yes, Congressman Castro.
Of what those non-debilitating illnesses may be. In the long term, is that
So
describe or give an example, sir?
Congresswoman Castro, you're saying that there is no need.
No, I'm asking, is there a need for us to give an example of what this debilitating illness?
To specify the
Yeah.
non-debilitating.
Debilitating meron.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we can ask the proponent. No. I'm referring to Congressman Goles, who clearly proposed the language of the.
Mr. Chair, if we write down all non-debilitating conditions that would fit medical cannabis use, it will take a lot of pages of papers. I think it is up to the decision of a qualified physician to determine the use of medical cannabis with non-debilitating conditions.
Okay, that's very. Is that okay, Congresswoman Castro? Okay, so Congressman Villaferte, is that okay? Okay, thank you. Now we call Dr. Kunanan. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to comment on number 10 of letter C. Any other condition that is subsequently identified and allowed by the Department of Health through the Medical Cannabis Office established under this act. May we humbly suggest, Mr. Chair and your honorable committee, to use any other disease or medical condition or symptoms that can be treated by medical cannabis as recommended by the attending medical cannabis physician, not recommended by the Department of Health.
Yeah, line 10. What does the chair of the TWG say? Section.
Doctora, can you please guide us? What particularly are you referring to? You said it is line 10.
Yes, line 10.
Line
Number
10
10.
of
Number 10.
Number 10 of
Section 3 C.
paragraph C.
Paragraph C.
Paragraph
because
section.
Line 10.
parang iba yung
Line 30. Ayan, ito. Line.
it's line 35.
Line 35, yes.
Okay. Can you please reiterate your concern about this?
Yes. May we humbly suggest instead of any other condition that is subsequently identified and allowed by the Department of Health through the Medical Cannabis Office established under this act, please can we use any other disease or medical condition or symptoms that can be treated by medical cannabis as recommended by the attending medical cannabis physician, not the Department of Health.
We see it proper, Mr. Chair,
So,
that the medical physician or the
Yes.
accredited physician will be the one to identify, because there will be accreditation process of the physicians who will be allowed to prescribe medical cannabis. So I think it is more appropriate that it will be the physicians who are accredited who will identify the illnesses to be treated by medical cannabis.
thank you, Congresswoman Luistro. I see the heads of the proponents nodding and agreeing to your proposal.
Thank you.
Before
Thank you
we
po.
proceed,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
let me acknowledge as well.
I'd like to acknowledge the presence of one of our vice chair, Honorable Peter Miguel of the Second District, South Cotabato. Thank you.
Okay. So now any other comments on paragraph C of section 3? Since there are none, we now proceed with section 3, paragraph D. Any comments from our members?
Mr. Chair, are we referring to the new paragraph D or the original paragraph D? Because
Okay.
Kong Villafuerte proposed the new paragraph D.
So we now move, the previous D will now become letter E because we have a new paragraph that we just approved. So the previous letter D in the old in the committee report will now be letter E. So we proceed with letter E of section 3, paragraph E. Any comments? Yes, please. You're recognized. Can you identify yourself?
Yes, Honorable Chair, I'm Dr. Manatad from the Department of Health, Disease Prevention and Control Bureau. Now, can we humbly manifest, Honorable
Ma'am,
Chair?
can you speak louder?
Yes. Can we manifest po based on the comment and then recommendations also of Dr. Konanan that instead of the DOH, it will be the attending physician. Can we also add on accredited physician?
So just add the word accredited.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, Honorable Chair.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
Yes.
Any? Okay, so since there are no violent reactions from the members, that's considered and noted. Comsec,
you.
please take note of that. So, since there are no comments, in the new paragraph E, new, kasi E na yan eh, no? E na yan ngayon, eh. So now we move on to paragraph F of the new paragraph F of section 3. Any comments? From
Yeah,
the honorable
Mr.
members?
Chair.
Yes, Congressman Villafuerte.
There's a limit on the word debilitating. Can we just make it medical use refers to use of medical cannabis to treat or alleviate a qualified patient's medical condition? Because, a qualified patient will be determined by a qualified physician anyway. And the qualified physician will be accredited by the MCO. Ang dami ng proseso. So since we already defined non-debilitating and debilitating, let's take out the word debilitating.
Okay. There's a proposal to delete the word debilitating. Are there comments? Any comments? So, no objections. Congressman Gato.
Maybe phrase in the judgment of the accredited physician that the patient needs. Because in the final analysis, it's really the decision of the attending physician who will determine whether.
With all due respect, the word qualified patient is already there, and you can only qualify as a patient if you are prescribed by a qualified physician. So, kumbaga, redundant na. If we say qualified patient issued by a qualified physician accredited by the MCO, I mean, it's already redundant.
Debilitating and non-debilitating is rather vague. It's really in the judgment of the doctor. What may, in the eyes of another doctor, is not debilitating, but to the attending physician who actually assesses the patient, he is in the best position to determine whether that qualified patient can be given that option of a medical marijuana.
I'm okay with that, but when you mention the word qualified patient, it means he is only qualified upon prescription of an accredited physician. That's just my point. But we can. I'm open to say qualified patient prescribed by a qualified physician. I'm okay with that. But for me, it's redundant.
Mr. Chair, with all due respect, while I subscribe to Kong Villafuerte, I think the concern of Chair Gato can be addressed in our new paragraph H, which I quote, qualified patient refers to a person who has been diagnosed by an accredited physician
Yes.
as having a debilitating and non-debilitating medical condition. Let us omit both debilitating and
Yes.
non-debilitating, or as symptoms associated with these medical conditions as defined under Section 3C, and who, in the authorized physician's evaluation, may I invite your attention, and who, in the authorized physician's evaluation, should receive medical cannabis as a treatment. I think this is the
Yeah,
concern of Chair
because
Gato.
yes, yes, I agree with that. Because that's for a later discussion. But since we jumped there, I'm okay with that. We will take out the word debilitating and leave all the words, phrases there, which already address the concern of our Chairman Gato.
Any other comments? So we consider the proposal of Congressman Gato, but instead of putting it in paragraph F, we will just include the word non-debilitating in the new paragraph H. Yung G kasi
Mr.
magiging
Chair,
H eh.
tatanggalin na yung word ng debilitating and non-debilitating sa letter H, proposed H.
Okay.
Bali, it will read, I'm discussing proposed H po. Qualified patient refers to a person who has been diagnosed by an accredited physician, which is what is Congressman Gato, the word accredited as having a medical condition, tatanggalin na po yung debilitating, or has symptoms or has symptoms associated with the medical condition as defined under 3C and D.
Okay.
3C and D. And who in the authorized physician evaluation should receive medical cannabis treatment.
Okay.
So that is the proposal, proposed amendment for the proposed section or subsection H, Mr. Chair.
Yes. That's the new section.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, may we know the comment of Chair Gato?
Yeah.
If
Congressman Gato.
he's satisfied with paragraph H in addressing his concern in paragraph E.
Before I answer that, may I ask the Department of Health, is there a clear definition of a debilitating and a non-debilitating disease? Or it's really the assessment of the doctor?
Honorable Chair, we have our international classification of diseases, and we also have our clinical practice guidelines that also set the standards as to the classifications of these conditions. So we can refer po on the guidelines and standards. So we have reference, Honorable Chair.
I'm okay with the deletion of debilitating and non-debilitating.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, just a quick manifestation. Mr.
Congressman
Chair.
Goles, yes.
Regarding the question earlier whether or not in the admin order, if medical marijuana was written in that administrative order in the issuance of compassionate special permit, the newest one, admin order dated 2020, does not still mention medical cannabis as part of the compassionate special permit. So it means to say that I think the Department of Health has been exercising beyond the law in interpreting this. Thank you.
Okay. Thank
If
you.
I may add, Mr. Chair, I just wish to invite the attention of the FDA that unregistered drug is entirely different from prohibited drug.
Yeah.
This is in support also and to bolster the earlier position of Congoles regarding the non-mention of medical cannabis in the AO being referred to. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congresswoman Luis too. So if there are no comments on section, ano ba yun? Section F, no? Sorry, section C. No. E, F, G. Okay, so new F and new H are both okay. Okay, so no comments from our members. Now we go back to new G. Okay, letter G of section 3. My observation here, Your Honors, and my humble suggestion is that we include Dangerous Drugs Board in this paragraph for the reason that regulation of use of marijuana must be strictly be done by physicians. Kasi kung ang DOH o MCO lang ang mag-i-issue ng permit nito, there's a probability or a big possibility that this can be abused. Now, DDB at the forefront of the anti-illegal drug policy making, dapat kasama yon pag-issue ng permits. That's just my take, Your Honors. And I would propose that it should be written, this paragraph be written as accredited physician refers to a licensed physician authorized by the Dangerous Drugs Board to issue prescription on the use of medical cannabis. I submit, Your Honors.
Just a question. The creation of the MCO, we have DDB, PDEA as members, Mr. Chair, right? Is that the ano?
No.
Hindi pa defined, no?
No. At
Advisory.
nakalagay lang, it was clearly specified that MCO will directly coordinate with DDB and PDEA. So we just wanted to state in this paragraph that Dangerous Drugs Board plays a very vital role in the regulation of the prohibited drugs. So since this is still a prohibited and considered to be a dangerous drug, unless, kaya nga may exception dun sa declaration of policy, sinabi natin na only for medical use. So the rest would still be, must be regulated by the Dangerous Drugs Board.
Mr. Chair, may I just comment on that
Yes,
suggestion?
please, Congressman
I
Gomez.
respectfully would like to manifest that although we do not discount the fact that the DDB is must be the forefront of this, but we are trying to legalize the use of medical cannabis. And if medical cannabis is already legalized, then the doctors themselves must be in the forefront now. But for non-medical cannabis, then we would submit that DDB must be in the forefront because there are no qualified doctors for medical cannabis in the DDB as of the moment. And the reason why we are putting the MCO is so that we will equip those doctors, equip those personnel to be able to identify who are capable physicians who will be given these responsibility to issue prescription to patients. Thank
Mr.
you,
Chair,
Mr. Chair.
if I may add, I agree with the concern of our Honorable Chairman Barbers. However, in terms of accrediting physicians, I think we should leave the MCO to do it. However, if you're talking about importation, cultivation, which we will discuss later, maybe the DDB can be involved. Prior to the accreditation of a plantation or the importation, that's where the DDB should really be in the forefront or be involved. But in terms of accrediting physicians, I think with all due respect, can we leave it to the MCO or the health practitioners can accredit their own health practitioners, but in terms of cultivation, importation later, which requires permits, I think that's where DDB should come in.
Before Congressman Akop, let me just reply to the idea of Congressman Villafuerte. My proposal is to include DDB in the equation simply because the MCO has no capability of identifying who there might be some medical practitioners who are drug lords or drug pushers or we cannot say. You know what I'm saying is that if DDB is on board, they practically have the idea of, because there are doctors, eto alam ng PNP at saka ng PDEA ito. That's why issuance of permits will be done by DDB with a favorable endorsement by the MCO. Kasi as it is today, it's actually PDEA who issues the permit. Yung mga doctors cannot prescribe unless, what do you call that? Or that S2 license, di ba? So in this case, we only wanted to make sure that issuance of permits will be given to those who are really qualified and with, unquestionable backgrounds or integrity. Kasi nga, baka nga ma-issue eh. There are doctors who actually are shabu users. Di ba? Di ba? There are even
Well,
policemen who are
Mr. Chair,
shabu
can I ask
users.
you when the doctors issue also fentanyl, di ba?
Mm.
So there's also chances of them over prescribing. But is the DDB involved
No,
in order to be issued an license? S2 ba yun? That kailangan bang dumaan sa PIDEA at DDB? Ha?
PIDEA, kasi overprescription actually is punishable in this proposed bill. Eh. So that's not actually what the intention is. My only take is that maybe those that are experts in that field, dapat they should know. And they probably have the best information as to who among the medical practitioners are actually, they have a list of high value targets. They call it high value targets, the PNP, the PIDEA, even the DDB, they know who are the practitioners who are.
May I
involved in
propose, Honorable Chair, that under Section 6 of the powers and function of the MCO, that we add a section later that prior to their issuance of accreditation, that they should closely coordinate with the PIDEA. You can have a stronger word, no? Coordinate or be authorized by PIDEA or DDB, if you're amenable, Mr. Chair. Under Section 6 later, if you will allow us to leave the accreditation to MCO, but the MCO will only issue accreditation prior to consent, consultation with the DDB or PIDEA. Is that okay?
Well, it could be also that the MCO will be the one to endorse to DDB. But let's limit the issuance of permits to the competent agency. In this case, kagaya nga nung prescription lang, you have to get it from PIDEA.
What is the current process right now to be issued an S2? Maybe we can just follow that. Paano ba ma-issue ng license to issue fentanyl and other opioids for medical use? I'm not familiar. I'm not, Mr. Chair, maybe some.
Yeah, the
maybe
chairman is a medical
can we just
practitioner. We can ask him, and
copy
then Congressman Ako.
maybe we can use it as a basis.
The S2 license is issued every 3 years.
Okay.
You have to undergo a drug test.
Okay.
You have to have a valid PRC and get a S2 number from the PIDEA.
Yeah, with the indulgence of our members, maybe we can just. I don't know. Will it be harder but will it address your concern if we just follow the same procedure?
Yeah, so there's no harm in including dangerous drugs.
I mean,
here
maybe
in
the
this
resource
part.
person can also
Okay, before
comment.
that, we acknowledge first Congressman Akop, and that gentleman is raising his hand. Congressman Akop, you're recognized.
May I ask, Mr. Chair, we've been speaking about S2 licenses issued by PIDEA. May I know the rationale behind this? So, because if we know the rationale, then we can use that rationale insofar as this issue is concerned, Mr. Chair.
I think that
from the DOH, they can answer this issue. Why is it that the license to prescribe drugs, dangerous drugs, would fall with PIDEA? May I know the rationale behind it?
DOH and PIDEA.
by the way, before they answer that, just as a note to the body, cannabis has been reclassified in the UN Committee on Narcotics. It's been classified. It's been recognized for its therapeutic medical value. However, medical cannabis, December 2, 2020, the UN Commission on Narcotics Drugs already classified medical cannabis in line with fentanyl and other opioids. Kumbaga na decriminalize siya in a way, but regulate pa rin. So what you're saying is, I think the S2 procedure might fit in that because that's the UN standard now. While they recognize its medical value, it's good, somewhat decriminalized, it was classified alongside the drugs such as fentanyl. It's here, no? The Expert Committee on Drug Dependence reclassified cannabis with fentanyl and other opioids.
Okay, thank you for that information, Congressman Villafuerte. DOH, can you please reply to the query of Congressman Acop?
Honorable Chair, for the, why is it that PIDEA has the role in the issuance of the S2 of the regulated drug? Now, based on the RA 9165, there is these provisions on the specific roles of every agency. Now, we also have on that particular section, these are the roles of the Department of Health, and these are also the roles of other agencies. Honorable Chair, thank you po.
Mr. Chair, may I just make a manifestation quickly?
With the indulgence of Congressman Acop. Yes, Congressman Godes.
The reason why I mentioned a while ago to give the responsibility to MCO in the issuance of the special license given to qualified doctors is I would not want the PIDEA to be the judge and the executioner at the same time. I think PIDEA must be the enforcement agency, and the one that will prescribe or give the licenses would be another agency, so that there is going to be check and balance later on and prevent further abuse. Thank you.
Yes, Congressman Acop, would you like to reply to Congressman Goles's statement?
As I've said, Mr. Chair, I will give my stand insofar as the issue is concerned after DOH has answered my queries.
Okay, DOH.
Now, could you, in that law that you are citing, specified ba talaga na yung trabaho ng PIDEA ay mag-issue ng S2 licenses?
Honorable Chair, from that law, we issued a DOH Administrative Order number 4 and its amendment AO
Mr. Chair,
2020.
With the indulgence, tinatanong ko lang po kung expressly provided by the law that you have mentioned na yung PIDEA ang may express power authority to issue S2 licenses. Yes or no?
Honorable Chair,
No.
we will check again po the law. However, we have reference as to the Dangerous Drug Board Resolution number 1, series of 2014, and based on that DDB resolution po, it was provided that the PIDEA has its role.
Mr. Chair, kaya tinatanong ko po ito because there has to be a compelling reason why S2 licenses should be issued by PIDEA. When in fact it is the prescription of medicine supposed to be. That's the issue insofar as this representation is concerned, Mr. Chair.
I secure a S2 license every 3 years, and I ask the same question sa Office of PIDEA. Why are we being required? And the reason I was given was that for monitoring of overprescription. Because in the S2, under S2 license, when you prescribe a regulated drug, this has to be in triplicate form. One form for the
Yes.
patient, the other copy for the drugstore,
Yes.
and the other copy for the doctor. So this has to be submitted. The drugstore submits it to the PIDEA. So for monitoring for overprescription. because there's a limited number of drugs that you can prescribe per prescription. So that was the rationale that was given to me. And in the case of why do we need to have a drug test, so that to ensure that the doctor himself is not a drug dependent or drug pusher. So we have to undergo at least every 3 years of urine drug test for that.
Mr. Chair, with the answer of Chairman Gato, I subscribe to your proposal. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Akop.
Mr.
So,
Chair,
Yes, Congressman Dago.
maybe in the proper time, no, because we are still under the differentiation, no. I understand in the draft that MCO is a collegial body, if I'm correct, Mr. Chair. It is a collegial body.
It is a department, or it's an office under the DOH as.
But it is a collegial body because it has a regulatory power.
May we ask the chair of the TWG to please reply?
It is my humble position, Mr. Chair, that it is not a collegial body. It is an office under the DOH, which will be headed by a director. However, it will be coordinating with relevant agencies such as the DDB and the DA.
That is the point I am raising, Mr. Chair, that like in the power industry, if it is a regulatory body in this case, no, maybe it is composed of different representation. For example, if it is composed of, if we are going to make it a collegial body, composed of 5 or 4, so PDEA could be there represented. So this is one of the structure in the power industry, Mr. Chair, that there are representatives from distribution, transmission. So that is only, Mr. Chair, my humble recommendation, Mr. Chair, in as far as the MCO is concerned, so that we can cure the issue on PDEA, na siya yung regulatory at the same time siya yung judge later on kung pupunta to sa ano. So isa lang siya doon sa. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, with all due respect to Kong Dagook, during the TWG, we heard the wisdom of the former President GMA that the negative implications about having a collegial body, it causes delay because we will be required to seek consultation to all the members of the body, and it will take so much time before for us to even come up with an IRR, assuming that we will be able to pass and approve this bill. So following that wisdom of FPGMA, we adopted to have an office under DOH headed by a director. There will be technical staff under him, and they will be coordinating with the DDB and the Department of Agriculture. Mr. Chair?
Thank you, Congresswoman Luis and Congressman Dago. Yes, ma'am. Congresswoman.
Anyway, Congressman Dago already agreed, but since Congresswoman Luis mentioned that I was the one who suggested the office, I just want to stress that when I speak, I don't speak from wisdom but from experience. And I learned in all my years in Senate, TSWD, President, the best way to make something not move is to make it by committee.
Thank you,
Yeah,
ma'am.
and I want
There's
to
wisdom
add,
to that.
and, I want to add to the
statement.
chair.
Yes, Congresswoman.
We hope that
Dina
anything
Puerte.
we pass should make it easier, simpler, faster, so that the true, intention of the law will be there. While we want to safeguard sometimes, but it creates bureaucracy and delay. And again, when you say collegial body, with all due respect, the power rests on its members. Meaning, if there are 5 members, that's 5 big problems, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
Mr. Chair.
Congressman Goles and then Congresswoman Luistro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to, since that issue has already been settled, I would like to go back to the issue of Congressman Acop regarding the purpose of getting the S2 from PIDEA. Still, Mr. Chair, I would humbly manifest that I would still go for the MCO issuing the S2 license, because when Congressman Gato mentioned that the reason for the S2 is because doctors will not be able to oversubscribe or prescribe, it will still not solve the problem. Whether or not it is given by PIDEA or MCO, if doctors would overprescribe, they will they will still overprescribe. So whether or not it is in PIDEA or MCO, the problem is still the same. So to cut the bureaucracy, I think MCO must be that agency who will give the permission to prescribe medical cannabis. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Goles. Congresswoman Luistro.
Mr. Chair, first I stand corrected with the use of the word wisdom. Yes, it was based on FPGMA's experience. The suggestion to create an office instead of headed by one instead of a collegial body. And if I may add, Mr. Chair, with respect to your suggestion that the DDB should be the one to issue the permit, because if you suspect that there are doctors who are into drugs, there might be hospitals and pharmaceuticals also who are into drugs. So if we consider DDB as the issuing authority, then it follows that the selling, the importation, the growing, the research, the cultivation has to be subject also to the authority of the DDB. I am apprehensive that it will go against the very framework of the office which we intend to create by virtue of this proposed bill. So to address the concern of Mr. Chair, I wish to suggest that for purposes of issuing permits, be it a physician,
Hospital.
a hospital, a
Drugstore.
clinic, pharmaceutical, drugstore, importation, research, growing and planting, can we just specify that the clearance of the DDB shall be a mandatory requirement before the MCO issues a permit? That is my humble suggestion, Mr. Chair.
So if may add, Mr. Chair, dun sa UN declaration, they already said that cannabis derived for medical purposes have no potential to be abused or cause dependence, but have significant health benefits even for children. CBD itself, which is the main ingredient for medical cannabis, is not addictive.
Okay.
And by the way, there are over 50 countries who already legalized it, and I have not heard any country that says there's an addiction on CBD. In fact, coffee causes addiction more than CBD, and it's legal. Sa akin, I know your concern, but I think we have to streamline this to make it more accessible to patients. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Villafuerte. Let me just clarify that the reason why I was proposing that we include DDB as a issuing agency, the issuing of permits, is because I strongly believe that they are the competent agency to regulate the abuse, the illegal sale, the illegal cultivation, and others. Because remember, 90% of, we're only exempting the medical use. the medical cannabis, and it's still under the control and auspices of the Republic Act 9165 kasi marami pa rin pwedeng violation dito. And that is just my intention, Your Honors. And hearing the suggestion of Congresswoman Luistro, I submit and subscribe to that phrase. And may we ask her again to please state before that, let us hear also from that gentleman who's raising his hands. May I know, and please identify yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ralph Ignacio po from UP Los Baños,
Okay.
proponent po ng cannabis research sa UPLB, no? Sir, with regards to permits and licenses, UPLB has actually applied an S6 license from PIDEA. No, the S6 license is a license it's a research license for scientific research, and we applied specifically for the cultivation of marijuana. However, yung application po namin hindi po umuusad. Paano po ba? It was
That's why there's a need for this law.
Yes, sir. Sir, this license is already provided for in RA 9165 Section 16 and DDB Board Regulation number 1 Series 2014, where the licenses, the P and S licenses are specified. It is existing already, sir, in law and regulation. However, hindi po namin ma-avail, sir. Yun po yung experience po ng UP Los Baños in these permits and licenses, sir.
Okay, Pidea, may we get your... Matagal na pala nag-a-apply sa inyo yung UP Los Baños eh.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. I'm Teresa Joella A. Austria, the Chief of Licensing and Records Division of Compliance Service PIDEA. As provided under Board Regulation number 1, Series of 2014, Section 16, entities who will use Schedule 1 of under the 1961 Convention, kailangan ng approval of the board prior issuance of a license. So your case, sir, have you forwarded a letter to the Dangerous Drugs Board, sir?
There we go. Ma'am, yes, we have submitted a letter to the board actually just last Monday. But yes, ma'am, I'm sorry for that. But sir, with regard to other applications of UP Los Baños, we actually have existing P licenses for precursor chemicals. It was issued without escalation to the board. However, for the one for for cannabis research, it took an extra step and it got escalated to PIDEA Main from PIDEA R4A. So, ayun po, parang nagkakaroon po ng extra step or extra procedure since number 1 po, wala pong
Mr. Chair,
precedent.
can I just add, you have to follow what steps they require. Ang tanong namin, have you complied with the steps? And if you did, gaano katagal na? Kasi don't say that the added step. If they are required that, you have to comply, right?
Yes, sir. Nagbigay po kami nung Lunes nung letter to DDB.
So, Lunes pa lang?
Yes po, sir.
So, contrary to what you're saying na matagal.
Sir, August pa po namin na-launch naibigay yung application sa PIDEA R4A. August last 2023.
No, but referring to medical cannabis, only Monday.
Sir, it was escalated by UP Los Baños last Monday. It was hindi po kami binabalikan ng PIDEA na kailangan po pala naming puntahan sa i-escalate sa DDB.
Sir, with due respect, sir, based on according to our inspector, you were advised to write a letter to the Dangerous Drugs Board regarding your case.
Mr. Chair,
Only last
Mr. Chair,
Monday you have
Mr.
submitted
Chair.
your letter.
Oh, so please take note of the requirement being asked by PIDEA. So i-comply niyan and then we'll see. I'm sure they will they will grant you that permit. Now, Congressman
yeah,
Chongbian.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to, currently, is marijuana put in the same category as other dangerous drugs like shabu and all these things?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so, I would expect that all these efforts, although some may be approved, will go through the ringer, because it's like saying, I want to get a license from the PDEA to do research on methamphetamine. It might get through, but it's going to take a while. That's why we need to get this bill going. So, I would assume if this bill is passed, any research towards medical marijuana, I think can go through the mill a lot quicker.
Mr. Chair, may I suggest that we stop using the word marijuana because it's a bad connotation? Can we just use medical cannabis?
Okay.
Because
My
marijuana,
fault.
sorry,
Medical cannabis.
marijuana in its form is highly addictive.
Okay.
Cannabis, which is referring to CBD as a form, is for medical purpose. Thank you.
Yeah, CHED is also part of the board ng Dangerous Drugs Board. And perhaps you can course your request to the CHED to follow it up with PIDEA, in one of their board meetings. So para mas mabilis yung inyong application. Yes, Congressman Akop.
For my education, Mr. Chair, may I ask the representative from UP Los Baños, ano po yung
Yes, sir.
provision ng 9165 na nagsasabi na they can apply for a license? And what license is that?
Sir, in RA 9165, it is section 16 where the law said the board shall publish rules on research. And then in 2014, the board actually published Board Regulation Number 1, Series 2014. And dun po in section 14, nandun po nakalista, sir, yung mga lisensya na pwede pong may avail, no? S1 to S6 and P1 to P6, sir.
Yung pong authority na yun was lodged by law sa PIDEA. Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Sir, it was the law saying that the board should publish
When you say the board, anong board?
The Dangerous Drugs Board, sir.
The Dangerous Drugs Board. So, yung Dangerous Drugs Board ang nagsabi na yung PIDEA ang mag-i-issue ng S1 to S6 license?
Yes, sir.
It's a board policy.
It is a board regulation, sir.
Yes.
Meron dyan. Parang nabasa ko yun.
Mr. Chair, kasi if I read section 16 of 9165, wala namang mention dito yung kwan eh. The title of section 16 of 9165 is Cultivation or Culture of Plants Classified as Dangerous Drugs or are sources thereof. Yung definition ng S6 license is license to conduct laboratory analysis or technical research or instructional or training program using controlled substances or drugs containing controlled chemicals or plant sources of controlled substances. Yun po yung S6 license. Now, I'm asking for any provision of law, Mr. Chair, simply because if there is no provision of law, these administrative orders or policies could be known as in law as ultra vires.
Yeah.
Di po ba? Kasi they have no legal basis in law. And any lawyer would tell you, Madam Luistro, na pag wala po sa, if the order is outside the provision of the law, these are considered as ultra vires. Yun po ang nangyayari. And then they're arrogating unto themselves already the power of legislation, Mr. Chair. That is my point.
Mr. Chair, if I
Yes,
may
on your
reply.
last point, Mr. UP Los Baños.
To reply to Sir Akop, in section 16, the later lines say, if I may read verbatimly, provided that in the case of medical laboratories and medical research centers which cultivate or culture marijuana, opium poppy, and other plants or materials of such dangerous drugs for medical experiments and research purposes or for the creation of new types of medicine, the board shall prescribe the necessary implementing guidelines for the proper cultivation, culture, handling, experimentation, and disposal of such plants and materials.
I agree with the representative of UP. Therefore, if this is authorized by an express provision of law, then these agencies accredited by any agency, which is the proper agency, can conduct this experiment.
Yes,
If they can conduct this experiment, then any product, insofar as these experiments are concerned, can be licensed by the approving authority.
Your Honor, perhaps we can ask PIDEA as to what provisions of 9165 clearly specifies and allows prohibited drugs for medical research and scientific studies. PIDEA, kayong dapat sumasagot niyan.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. In with regards to the question of the representative from the UP Los Baños, the legal basis as to the research cultivation of marijuana is Section 16 of RA 9165. It says there that the board shall issue a guidelines when it comes to this activity. So the board, in the exercise of its policy-making body, issued and promulgated DDB Board Regulation Number 1, Series of 2014. And there the guidelines as to who are allowed to cultivate or do research when it comes to cannabis, Mr. Chair.
Would that be sufficient reply from PIDEA, Congressman Acop?
In order not to prolong the debate insofar as this bill is concerned, I will agree to that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Acop. Okay.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, one moment.
Okay.
Mr. UPLB, are you in favor of this bill?
Yes, sir.
Then you should defer so we can move on. Because if you want to tackle your S6 application, just fulfill the requirement, may I suggest. Thank you.
Okay, we're still with Section 3, paragraph new G. This is the new G. So since I have already subscribed to the proposal of Congresswoman Luistro in my proposed amendment, and perhaps there are no comments or objections from our members, then maybe we ask Congresswoman Luistro again to please state for the record the new paragraph and how it will be written.
Mr. Chair, so this is for purposes of accredited physician only. So this does not include the other activities such as selling, manufacturing, growing, and research. And to answer to heed to the instruction of Mr. Chair, the new paragraph G shall now read as accredited physician refers to a licensed physician authorized by the MCO upon a prior and mandatory clearance issued by the DDB.
Okay, so no other comments on that particular proposal and amendment? Okay, last, yes, that gentleman, please identify yourself.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Glenn Yage from the Philippine Society of Cannabinoid Medicine. So, in accordance to the Section G, a medical cannabis physician is a physician authorized by the Medical Cannabis Office and at the same time should have a valid S2 license prescription, S2 license in order to prescribe medical cannabis. That's my suggestion. So that since having an S2 license allows us to prescribe regulated drugs. And if we consider medical cannabis as a regulated drug, a physician should have not just authority or not just
Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I just comment? Parang we're adding so much eh. It's
That's why.
either
That's why. Congressman Villafuerte,
Oo.
let me just
okay.
finish the gentleman's point of view. Kasi dun sa proposal ni Congresswoman Luistro in this particular paragraph in Section 3, yung clearance that will be given by the DDB encompasses all ano ba yung mga ano, S1, S2, yung mga lahat yun Kailangan may clearance lang with DDB. Let's not complicate it further by adding more ano dyan anyway, with the clearance that will be issued by the competent agency, in this case DDB and MCO, enough na siguro yung regulation na yun, and that's probably only ano yun? For all the clearances, di ba? All the permits. So encompassing naman siya. So okay. Sige, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Congressman
just to
Villafuerte.
add, while we are putting a safeguard by adding the DDB, I don't know if we do it now or in the IRR. We just don't want the DDB to require 20 requirements prior to the clearance. I'm just concerned about that kasi once you give them the authority, they might make it more difficult than an issuance of an S2. If there are 10 requirements for an S2, baka gusto nila 20. So I'm just the intention of this is to do we define it now? IRR ba?
No, yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair,
Congresswoman.
I propose we define it now
Oh, yeah.
because the less things to leave for the IRR, also the better for execution.
I agree. In fact, IRR sometimes complicates it. So it's better that we spell it out in the law, in the provisions of the proposed bill, rather than just let the IRR define and explain it.
Mr. Chair, are you amenable that the DDB clearance shall be issued basing it on the same requirement as an S2? No? I mean, that's my question. I'm not a doctor. I don't know the S2 requirement.
Yes, Congresswoman Luis, please
Maybe
reply.
Congressman Gato and the practitioners can enlighten us.
I was just wondering, is S2 license not enough? Because you are already required, your even requirements from the PIDEA. If you want to get an S2 license, you have to undergo drug testing. So doon pa lang na-filter mo na rin yung mga unscrupulous physicians. So why add another layer of
the S2 license is a requirement only to those prescribing yung regulated drugs, not all. There are doctors who doesn't have S2 because they don't need to prescribe these regulated drugs.
Mr. Chair, if I may manifest as a doctor, I think doctors who are qualified to prescribe medical cannabis must be given a separate clearance by the MCO, because just like me, I don't have an S2 license, but later on I would want to see patients who are in need of medical cannabis. Why would I get an S2 for that matter? So if I want to be focused on patients specifically for this, then I would just go to the MCO for a separate permit. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Congresswoman Luisa, I was about to say, of course, we wanted the MCO to make it easier to issue these permits. However, there's still a danger of it being abused or over prescription and over subscription. So kaya nga we must strike a balance. Kaya nga mas magandang may nagre-regulate, may tumitingin.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, exactly.
Mr. Maybe you've defined the role of the MCO, FDA, CHED. You want to add a section on the role of the DDB and define their role, such as issuance of the clearance and define the requirement?
No, by the suggestion of Congresswoman Luistro that the MCO will what do you call this? Will require the clearance, the prior clearance from the DDB.
And
I think it's already enough.
I'm
and
okay
sufficient.
with that, but as agreed earlier, we should already define the requirements for a clearance.
Yeah, we can spell it out later in the law. Yes, Congressman Gato.
Once this bill becomes a law, the medical marijuana will now be one of the regulated drugs. So S2 is specifically for regulated drugs. So why do we need a special license or permit to prescribe medical cannabis if you already have this S2 that is specific for regulated drugs? So
I think Congressman Gato, the point of Congressman Goles is also very valid, that he doesn't have an S2 license like other doctors, but they also, some physicians might want to prescribe medical cannabis.
This will mean that you will have another special license only for medical cannabis. So it will limit the number of available physicians who would later on need to prescribe medical cannabis. Whereas if the S2, which is now presently being implemented, I think it will be more accessible, so to speak.
I don't think it's limiting it, because as mentioned by Congressman Goles, he's a practitioner. Him and others might want to prescribe cannabis, but they don't want the rigorous reporting requirement of prescribing fentanyl and other S2 prescribed drugs.
Chair.
So what's
Mr. Chair.
I guess
I think
Mr. Chair.
since medical cannabis is an entirely new thing, let's set up rules as agreed by this body, not necessarily put it in line with the S2 license.
Okay, before we rule on that, maybe ask the opinion
Mr. Chair,
also
yes.
of Congressman
As a doctor
Miguel.
also, on the other hand, there are doctors who have already S2 and probably would opt to prescribe medical cannabis. So in that case, are they required to have another license again just to prescribe medical cannabis wherein they already have S2? So it's another layer if you would look at that way.
No, it's not a layer. We can agree that if you have an S2, you can prescribe medical cannabis.
Yeah.
I think I'm agreeable to that.
Yes, yung S2 is the permit that you need to secure in order for you to be able to prescribe your regulated drugs. Yun yung
The way I understand early on is that whenever you would like to prescribe, Mr. Chair, medical cannabis, you have a separate license from MCO. So if that is the case, then there's another layer of licensing for the physicians in order to prescribe.
Yes, Your Honor, because this is something new, medical cannabis. So there must be a special, shall we say, I don't want to call it special.
But Mr. Chair, since you already mentioned, do you have an S2 license, sir, Kong?
I opted not to have because I don't want to do the.
No, but let's just say I have an S2 license. It doesn't mean that I can prescribe immediate medical cannabis because you have to undergo some information or training anyway. So, I mean, that's the intent of the MCO.
Meron dito.
Hindi naman po ibig sabihin na S2 ka na, okay, you're qualified in the sense na nag-drug test ka and all, but you still need to be accredited by MCO in terms of knowledge, information, research, prescribing,
and training,
potency about medical cannabis. Like, when you want to prescribe Epidiolex, that's an entirely new animal compared to fentanyl, Valium, which are regulated. So, iba talaga eh. Iba talaga. While others might think it's a layer, it's a new animal. It's a new...
and that gives it more reason for us to be more cautious. Kasi this is something new eh. And, securing a permit in the same manner as that of the other practitioners who secure a S2 license. Oh, is that permit? No, permit? License. Dapat ganun din yung regulation, ganun din yung requirements to. In this case, since this is new, the MCO with the clearance from DDB, because the MCO does not know who the drug lords are. Let me go back to my statement earlier, because there are medical practitioners and even drugstore owners or pharmaceutical companies who are users. We don't know. In other words, we're just thinking ahead or thinking aloud, because regulation pa rin ang importante rito eh. Diba? We're only exempting the use of this medical cannabis for some debilitating and non-debilitating as identified by the physician. Diba? You cannot use medical cannabis for LBM, for instance, or for just an ordinary headache. You cannot, because the doctors, the physician are expert or are aware of what patients needs medical cannabis.
Mr. Chairman, just to shortcut, I agree, and I think everybody here agrees with the suggestion of Congresswoman Luis Trona. We just add the word DDB clearance. We just have to define later on the requirements for a clearance, as mentioned by former President GMA. Na better to do it now para lang clear cut na. So I think we're all agreeable to the suggestion. And later on we can just tackle that yung DDB clearance para we can move on as a way of a suggestion, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Congresswoman Luis Tro.
Yeah, I just want to complete the suggested provision, if I may be allowed.
Yes, please.
Accredited physician refers to a licensed physician authorized by the MCO to issue prescription on the use of medical cannabis without comma upon a prior and mandatory clearance that he or she is not in the dangerous drugs watch list issued by the DDB. It is not our intention to overburden the applicant. We understand that S2 is more tedious than the clearance. So what we only need to know is these applicants do not belong to the dangerous drugs watch list. If I may add also to this particular paragraph G, in response to our concern on S2, provided that physician with S2 license are considered as accredited physician for the purpose of this act. In order not to burden the S2 holder from applying another license for the purpose of prescribing medical cannabis.
Mr. I would subscribe to that provision.
I'm okay with that, but they still have to undergo some training from the FCO.
With that suggestion, the MCO remains to be the issuing office of the authority. However, for those without S2, they only need to secure clearance that they are not in the watch list from the DDB. For those with S2 already, no more clearance, but they still need the license from the MCO.
Okay. Very clear, very concise. Defined na po yung yung requirements sa DDB. Well, yes.
Maybe can we request the technical staff to please.
Can we
no more arguments about that particular paragraph. We now,
If I
so we're
may,
done with the
Mr.
section
Chair,
3, no? We're now moving to section 4.
Mr. Chair, may I be allowed to speak
Can
from
you identify
PDEA, Mr.
yourself?
Chair?
Oh, yes, please. Pidea.
Regarding to the suggestions from the co-chair, may we delete the phrase stating clearance that he or she.
Is not in the dangerous drugs watch list?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Because watch list under the law enforcement is a confidential matter, Mr. Chair, and we cannot just provide that, Mr. Chair. And moreover, the dangerous drugs board is not issuing a watch list.
Mr. Chair, just to simplify, we are not asking him to divulge. The DDP will issue the clearance based on their confidential list. We're not asking to divulge that list publicly or any other issue, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, if we could just rephrase the suggestion, if we could state it in a general term, stating that that he or she, upon in coordination with the appropriate agencies.
Hindi, teka. Wag mo nang paguluhin.
Mr. Chair, ano na
This
yan
is
eh.
very clear.
Oo.
Okay na yan. Basta,
Mr. Chair, so kaya niya gustong appropriate kasi gusto nilang makisali.
no, because ang custodian ba ng watch list, PIDEA or DDB? Okay, PIDEA. So, since the watch list will not be published anyway, ang kailangan lang naman ay may clearance from DDB na si Mr. Dr. So-and-so is not in the watch list. Yun lang yun. Let's not complicate this anymore, attorney. Okay? So, tapos na tayo dito sa paragraph na to. Meron ba yun? Okay. So,
Mr. Chair,
yes, Congressman Miguel.
may I, there's a possibility. How can we cure that a physician may get away from getting a license from MCO by just having S2? So how can we cure that? Kasi pag nilagay na that physicians with S2 license are considered accredited physicians for the purpose of this act. In my dirty mind, doctors would just get an S2.
Hindi nadadaan
Hindi
sa MCO.
nadadaan sa MCO. Meron na siyang license to prescribe medical cannabis. Yun lang.
Oh. Yeah,
Yes, Mr. Chair. FCO na lang and they will, pag mayroong S2, di i-require na lang ng seminar. Kumbaga, dalawa yung requirement ng MCO, yung non-S2 and I mean, that they can set that.
So, portion of paragraph G. Secretary, please remove provided until the word act.
Okay. So we now move on to the next paragraph. No, we're done with the new paragraph, right?
Up to H na, Mr. Chair.
So tapos na tayo dun sa... Okay, sige. Congressman Dago.
Qualified patient, Mr. Chair, may I humbly suggest that the term authorized, no, parang sentence, third sentence, just to be consistent with our definition of accredited physician, be changed to accredited physician's evaluation instead of authorized physician's evaluation.
There's a proposal to replace the word authorized to accredited physician. So, agree. And no comment from our colleagues? Okay, so accredited. Comsec, please take note. Okay, sige. Good. So we're now move on to section 4. Access to medical cannabis. Comments? None. So this is deemed approved. We now move on to section 5. Medical cannabis office. Ito. Any comments? From our members, no comment, no, from our resource persons, you're all okay with this? Good, thank you. Now we move on to section 6. Paragraph, powers and functions of the MCO. Paragraph A.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry for late
Congressman Miguel.
reaction. I just would like to know if the MCO, the director,
In section 5, you're referring to section 5?
yes, section 5.
Okay.
The MCO shall have a secretariat headed by a director. May I know the qualification of this director? Is he or she be a physician or?
Yeah, he could
Or
also be
anyone?
a drug user. That's why.
Just want to
we
know
should
because
be
this is
aware.
for me.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I think we should leave the qualification of the director subject to the discretion of the secretary.
Okay.
Kasi ano yan eh. We should not limit the
choice.
qualification. It should be based on competence and capability. If you put a college degree there or something, it limits.
Okay. Question, does it have to be a physician, a medical practitioner? So not necessarily. Okay. So, okay. Is that okay, Congressman Miguel?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. So now, section 6, paragraph A. Comments? Amendments? Okay, since there are none from our members and our resource persons, we now move on to section 6, paragraph B. Comment. I have a short comment. Can we also include here promulgate rules and regulations in coordination with DDB? Pa rin? Would that be all right? Would that be in coordination with Dangerous Drugs Board? Para lang consistent din tayo dun sa ano. Kasi nga may regulatory. So our section 6 in section 6 paragraph B. In coordination with DDB. My proposal, my humble suggestion is we include the phrase in coordination with DDB, promulgate rules and regulations in coordination with Dangerous Drugs Board. Okay. Comment? Congressman Gato, you have a reaction?
I support this bill. I just like to manifest that the bill in the sense that I support the intention of this bill is to make medical marijuana more accessible to the people. But my understanding is that it should be the bill should be limited only to the medical marijuana in pharmaceutical form. So with regards to the cultivation and manufacture, I have my strong reservation, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Gato. Your statement is noted, but we will go into that provision later on when we reach the paragraph. Ano na ba yun? We're still with the section 6 paragraph B. So my proposal, my suggestion, if I may, Your Honors, is to include the phrase in coordination with DDB. Yung promulgate rules and regulations in coordination with DDB. Yes, Miss, can you please identify yourself?
Good morning, Your Honors. My name is Leah Fulion. I am from the Haraya Policy Center. Just on the matter of letter B to include the DDB could be redundant considering that in Section 5, we have already indicated that for the purposes of policy and programs, the DOH will be in coordination with the DDB and also with the DA. So I take it as it is also carried in the next provisions that the DA and the DDB will be included in any promulgation of rules and regulations of the MCO. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, your observation is noted. The proponent, which is the chair, humbly suggest that we no we there is so for us to be consistent in all the provisions of this proposed bill, there must be a clear phrase that there must be a coordination with the Dangerous Drugs Board as a policy making body of the anti-illegal drugs and prohibited drugs. And I don't think the phrase in coordination with DDB would do any harm, nor give a different context in that particular paragraph. So that is just lang we really just wanted to spell it out there. So para walang ambiguity.
We agree, Your Honor. Thank you.
Salamat. Thank you. Yeah. So promulgate rules and regulations in coordination with DDB and NDA. Okay, so the proposal is to likewise include DA. So any comments? None? Mr. Mansala, you're raising your hand.
On letter B, section 6B, on the enumeration of what will be covered, importation, cultivation, manufacture, etc. I noticed that the action of
Mr.
export or
Manansala,
export.
Nasa letter B pa lang po tayo. Wala po tayo. Letter C po yun, yung sinasabi niyo.
Letter B po.
Yung
letter B, including
manufacture. Yeah, please. Oh, sorry. Please proceed. Yeah.
I noticed that the process of export is not included. I can imagine that in the future, the industry will be developed and we can do what Netherlands has been doing, that they are able to export medical grade cannabis to other countries. And that can also help a lot in developing the economy. But I think we should control that also in terms of quality and other considerations.
Chair, you know, when we were doing the TWG, there was a debate. I mean, there an implicit debate between tolerance and active promotion. And many of our arguments and many of our decisions that time were directed towards just mere tolerance. So I don't know about planning to export and all those things. But in other words, I don't think in the TWD we were envisioning developing the industry. We're just tolerating the use of medical cannabis for sick people or people with body aches and pains. But maybe it's premature to go into those things that will develop an industry for other markets. Netherlands, marijuana is legal. Also, many drugs are legal. We're not in that stage. We are in the stage of tolerating but closely regulating, not in the stage of promoting an industry. That's my take on what we what we agreed on the TW last time.
Yeah, I share the opinion of former President GMA on this particular, though it may be inviting to be able to develop an industry out of this in the future. At the moment, probably siguro will take it one step at a time.
Yeah.
Kasi bago ito eh, baka ma-overwhelm naman tayo.
Mr. Chair,
So,
I mean, tama naman na in the next 10 years, we should not be import dependent if we can develop our own variety, our own. But yung issue po ng resource person, address naman dun sa word na cultivation and manufacture. So if you cultivate and manufacture, we can export in the next 10 years anyway. So
let's
okay
hurdle,
naman yung word nandun na eh. Nandun na yung cultivate, manufacture.
let's hurdle first itong medical cannabis, yung ano na yan. And then later on, no, if this will prove to be really what it tends to deliver to the Filipino people, then maybe we can go beyond the limitations as provided in this proposal. Okay, so no more comment or reaction. So we now proceed with Section 6, Paragraph C.
Mr. Chair, may I suggest to add the word accredited dispensaries? Although there are may drugstore na, yung medical facility kasi and other medical facility, when you say medical facility, it's a place where the sick or injured people are given a treatment. So, but I think, you know, in the opening statement of Congressman Luis Tro, na-mention yung accredited dispensaries eh. But it's not nowhere in the bill. I think that's a standard term globally. The dispensaries are the one dispensing, selling. These dispensaries will anyway be accredited by the MCO anyway. Just to add.
Okay, any comments on that proposal? Okay, so it seems that everybody agrees with the proposal
Thank
of
you.
Congressman Villafuerte. That will be included in the paragraph. If I may, also, I'd like to, sa last paragraph, maybe what we can do, the MCO, add the following, no? The MCO and DDB shall establish and maintain their respective information system. Dapat yung MCO, meron siyang information system, sino yung physicians na nag-i-issue ng prescription nito, including also the, yes, Congresswoman Castro.
Now, in
Letter C.
We're in Section 6, letter C. The chair is proposing that we include MCO and DDB shall establish and maintain their respective information system, especially to track cannabis growth from seed to sale for monitoring and regulation purposes. The reason why I wanted to include the DDB again dito is that because the MCO may not have the technical, oh, I'm sorry, not the technical, may not have the manpower to be able to directly monitor this. And if the DDB has a policy of the board that they will consider monitoring of plantations, etc., then it would be an easier job for both the MCO and the DDB.
Okay.
Okay. So section, okay, so we're done. No more comments on paragraph C, section 6. Okay, so now we move on to paragraph D of section 6.
Mr. Chair, just to be consistent, issue authorization and license to qualified hospital, clinics, drug stores, credit dispensaries, and other related health facilities.
Okay.
Just to add, just to be consistent.
Okay, so tama. And also to be consistent, issue endorsements to DDB and MCO. We must always put DDB here. In issue endorsements to DDB and MCO for the issuances of licenses to qualified hospitals, clinics, drugstores, accredited, ano yung sinabi ni- dispensaries, and other, etc., etc. So, no comments? Okay, now we move on to section 6, letter E. Ah, no, sorry. Ano na tayo, no? Letter F. Again, to be consistent, if I may propose, Your Honors, would like to amend this paragraph by including, okay, issue guidelines for DDB, MCO, DDB's authorization and accreditation of private entities who will venture into research and development of medical cannabis. MCO pa rin with DDB.
Mr. Chair,
Kasi,
on letter
yeah.
E, I think we skipped letter E.
Did we?
Issue
Sorry,
accreditation of
I'm
physicians.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to letter E. Sa letter E pala, sorry.
My question is, why do we have to put nurses, pharmacists, caregivers, paramedical personnel, where in fact we're just talking about physicians as qualified personnel who can issue these prescriptions?
Okay, may I know from the chair of the TWG?
Mr. Chair, I wish to assume that the nurses, pharmacies, and caregivers who are in the discharge of their function of administering or selling the medical cannabis without the necessary accreditation might be in trouble because this remains to be a prohibited drugs. And to put them in a safe zone, it was our intention that all the medical professionals be given the necessary accreditation in order to give them the authority to have in their possession the medical cannabis.
Mr. Chair, with all due respect to Congresswoman Luistro, if I may suggest to just put doctors, because the pharmacists will just dispense what the doctors has prescribed, while the caregivers will just deliver whatever the physician has
We
instructed them to.
subscribe to the position of co-chair, and we submit, of course, to the decision of the committee.
So in letter E, we remove nurses, pharmacists, caregivers, paramedical personnel, and other medical personnel. So this should be limited only to the accredited physicians. Okay, any other comments? If there are no other comments, we proceed with letter F. Issue guidelines and authorize or accredit private entities who will venture into research and development of medical cannabis. Comment? No other comments? Before we proceed, we'd like to acknowledge one of our Vice Chair of the Committee on Health, Honorable Larnie Lavin Roque of the 4th District of Bukidnon. Thank you.
Mr.
So-
Chair,
Yes,
I
Honorable Miguel.
just want to make it clear in this section, letter F, that are we still consistent that it's still with DDB? Just to make sure. Is it still with DDB, the issuance of guidelines? The MCO plus DDB, with DDB as was espoused by our chair.
Mr. Chair, I think it is the intention of Chair Barbers to emphasize the participation of the DDB in all the functions of the MCO. So yes, for paragraph F, we will be including the Dangerous Drugs Board.
Okay, any other comments? Section, ano, letter F na tayo. Letter F. If there are none, we... Oh,
Dito na kasi.
yeah. Can you put that in motion? Yeah.
May I respectfully move, Mr. Chair, that we consider as an omnibus amendment the inclusion of the DDB in all the powers and functions of the MCO.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Okay, there's a motion as stated, duly seconded. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion is adopted. Okay, so before we proceed with the, anong letter na ta? Letter G? Letter G na. 7 na. Oh, yeah. Okay. Section 7, any comments?
Mr. Chair, just to be consistent, may I suggest also to add the word accredited dispensaries?
Okay.
The MCO shall
No, omnibus na tayo. Can you put that in motion, Congressman Villafuerte, so we can include the accredited dispensary? Okay.
I move that the word accredited dispensaries be included in all pertinent provisions and sections. So move, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion
Mr. Chair.
as stated, duly seconded. Hearing no objections. Do you have an objection? Unless it is an objection. Okay, so if it's not an objection, let the chair rule
Finish.
first. So hearing no objection, the motion is adopted. Congressman Dagoc and then Miss Teresa Torres from DOH. Pitak.
Mr. Chair,
Congressman
in relation to the newly adopted additional provision on accredited dispensary, maybe it is my humble recommendation that we will put accredited dispensary in the definition of term in section 3.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. So there is a proposal to include. Okay, so
Mr. Chair, if you add that, you have to also include what a drugstore clinic is. An accredited dispensary will have to be determined by the MCO.
okay.
That is my opinion, no? Kasi then we go through everything. You have to define hospital, clinic, drugstore, medical. What is the definition of a medical facility? Diba? Sa akin lang, let's add the word and let the MCO determine what's an accredited dispensary.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Congressman Dagoc,
Thank you, sir.
Congressman Villafuerte. So before we acknowledge the PITAC DOH representative, let me acknowledge the presence of Congresswoman Larnie Roque. Thank you for attending the Committee on Dangerous Drugs hearing. Yes, Miss Dr. Torres, Teresa Torres.
Yes, sir. Honorable Chair, thank you very much. May we recommend to add or to include to item F to include SUCs and other government research institutes.
Item F. Section
Line 2. Section 6.
Item F. Tapos na tayo doon.
Tapos na tayo doon.
Can we just ask you to please can you just state for the record and for the information of everybody here present what you intend to include in section 6?
Yes, sir. To include that for the issuance of guidelines and authorized or accredited private entities and SUCs or other research institutions.
So SUs ang gusto mo lang isama yung SUCs and other
Government research institutions.
specifically for research.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, for research.
Sa no,
Section
sa yeah, section 6 of letter F, they are proposing that we include the SUCs and other government.
Why don't we just put accredited public and private entities? Kasi kung LGU gusto na rin, I mean, Let's not limit to SUCs. Let's just make public and private entities, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Total subject to accreditation naman eh.
Okay. In section 11 of the proposed law, it spells out also research. No? Nandyan yung universities, state colleges and universities. Maybe later on when we get to this section, you can propose your amendment if you want.
Noted po. Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you,
thank
Mr.
you.
Chair.
So, any other comments on section 7?
Hindi, okay na pala.
Okay
Okay
na.
na tayo doon.
Okay, now we move on to section 8.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
under
Congressman
section
Villafuerte.
8, it states that the FDA shall determine. Then on the second, third following sentences, it says it shall ensure. I think the word determine should be replaced by ensure because, I mean, sorry, the FDA, when you say shall and determine, it's masyadong, they cannot, the FDA cannot determine the potency, consistency, safety. It's the manufacturer and the physicians who will do that. For example, they want to accredit Epidulex, which is FDA approved. If you give FDA the power to say determine the potency from 100 milligrams to 200, hindi naman available, it complicates it. So I think the FDA shall ensure the potency, consistency, and standards. That's what I want to propose. Because in the second and third, it shall ensure that the products are organic. Then on the third sentence, the FDA shall also ensure that all medical cannabis products conform. There's a wide, iba po yung difference ng determine sa ensure.
Okay. So we'd like to get the comment of the chair of the TWG.
Mr. Chair, since the manufacturers would have their own quality assurance, they have their own laboratories. They are in the forefront of making sure that potency are determined and consistency and safety. Now, FDA would now ensure that the manufacturers, which they determine to be potent, safe, etc., is compliant to the standards. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So how do you want it written, Congressman?
The
Villafuerte?
FDA shall ensure the potency, consistency, safety, and efficacy of medical products.
Mr. Chair.
Which they're actually doing now.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Congressman.
On the other hand, on a scientific parlance, determination is about quantifying the potency, the consistency. So I think determination is a proper word because the FDA would go into the process of testing the drug. And it's for its safety and consistency. It's medically, the word we always use is to determine because it is somewhat a study.
Mr. Chair, with all due respect, when you test a product, the product has already been determined in terms of potency, packaging. Once you put that word determine, if you look at the dictionary, that's wide-ranging. Even the packaging, labeling will have to be determined by them. And we're not a manufacturer of medical cannabis. If we import the Epidulex, I think all the FDA needs to do is make sure that it's compliant. And in fact, there is a provision here that, if I'm not mistaken, I read it, that it is already approved in other countries that, ano ba yan? Nakalagay dito that the FDA should just validate. Saan yun? The FDA shall ensure that all medical cannabis products conform with the labeling and packaging requirements of the agency, provided that if a medical cannabis product has been determined to be effective, determined already, to be safe and duly registered from where it was imported, such determination shall be adopted. Ibig sabihin, it was already determined in the source. with all due respect, the FDA does not have the capability, machinery, technical know to determine, because we will only import. I think ensure is, and the word shall is very strong. I mean, you're a lawyer, Kong. When you word shall, it's mandatory. Meaning they will tell the manufacturer, Pfizer, mali ka. Dapat ito. I think they have not, we don't have that capability. With all due respect,
Is
Mr.
that
Chair.
sufficient enough, Congressman Miguel?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I submit.
Thank you.
Before we proceed, we'd like to acknowledge the presence of the Committee on Health member, Honorable Agustina Dominique Litzetina Pancho of the 2nd District of Bulacan. Thank you very much.
Okay. FDA, you're raising your hand.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We want to be clarified because the way how we understand it, the whole law gives the full authority to MCO. Then on Section 8, it's giving FDA to identify or confirms, or we say validates the potency and the rest. For FDA, we are willing to give this part of Section 8 to MCO all the way, rather than it goes from FDA back and forth. Then it would be better if there's one office that would handle all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
What does the chair of the TWG say?
Mr. Chair, the MCO is going to be under DOH. FDA is also under DOH. So I don't see any reason why there is going to be a discrepancy. Under the MCO, DOH can actually say that FDA help MCO. It's as easy as that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, the sentiment of the resource person is really valid kasi while marami talagang pending applications under FDA that's taking so long, and despite the fact that it's under DOH, parang they're acting as if they're an independent republic. But I think we still leave to the mandate of the FDA that in ensuring that these products that we bring in or manufacture are within food and drug standards. The FDA is not only existing here in the country; it's all over the world. So it's part of a standard that we have to follow.
So FDA, dagdag ng trabaho nyo yan. Oh, bilisan nyo lang. Yes, one last comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For FDA, we don't have a center for cannabis. And second, we do have to develop as well. On top of our current testing, the expertise on cannabis, while we will go with whatever will be the final provision of the law, but we pray, since there's already an MCO, that the MCO handles everything. But since under rin naman po kami ng DOH, it will be a discussion, but in the law, it would be better if MCO all the way siya. And then, utusan na lang kami by the Secretary of Health kung ano yung tulong na gagawin namin with the MCO. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
That's noted. Thank you, FDA. So, we now move on to the next section. Section 8 na tayo. Ano? Section 9. Section 9.
Clarification.
Okay, before that.
Mr.
yes,
Chair, just to clarify, are we removing now the authority of the FDA on the importation of medical marijuana?
No, the importation will under MCO. Ang dito the role of FDA is yung accreditation, yung parang product registration of the drugs, which they're doing right now, right? All drugs are accredited by the FDA. Is that correct?
Yes, please. Yeah, FDA.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The current mandate of FDA is to register all finished product for market selling in the Philippines. With this provision, we want to be clarified as well if CFDA rin po ba ang mag-issue ng Certificate of Product Registration. Kasi nakahang siya. While ang prayer po namin, if i-under all the way sa MCO, it would be better rather than pupunta sa FDA dan babalik sa MCO ang proseso. Kami po'y nag-aantay ng inyong payo. Thank you.
Okay, so if that's the case, maybe we can clearly spell it out in this section.
Sa akin, if they're willing to abdicate their right, ako, mas mabuti kung MCO because the MCO can still tap their agency. It will lessen the paperwork and bureaucracy. But of course, the MCO is mandated and responsible that they have to be registered.
Well, I guess
if the DOH and the FDA are already agreeing that it should be MCO, better. There's only one agency handling it.
It's just going to be an internal with FDA, MCO, and DOH. Kayo na lang yan eh. Very clear naman yung mandato nyo. Kayo yung to ensure that the food and drug before it is out in the market is safe for public consumption, correct? Naman yun yung mandato nyo, di ba? So it doesn't change anything here because if we easier to as is na lang
I'm just curious, Mr. Chair, why is the FDA wanting to abdicate their responsibility as mandated? In the charter, it's...
sige, one last comment from FDA.
Thank you very much, Chair. Hindi naman po sa ina-abdicate. We just want to have one line. Ang FDA tutulong po, but if it is the MCO who handles registration, monitoring, handling license to operate and everything, it would be one office rather than kay FDA pupunta yung registration, then who will handle the license to operate and among other things. Yun po ang aming kinlaro.
Lahat dito MCO eh. Yung kayo lang yung registration. That's your mandate, right? We're not passing to you the registration monitoring. Ang pinapasa lang sa inyo dito yung role nyo as a FDA
determination of
yung product registration, di ba kayo gumagawa nyo? That's your mandate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kasi the way how it's worded, it's testing. So, ang ano lang po namin ay maklaro lang kung ano yung participation ni FDA. Kasi ang ginagawa currently ni FDA according to our mandate ay kami po ay naglilisensya ng mga establishmento at nagbibigay ng marketing authorization sa mga produktong finished product. Yun po ang aming mandato. Ito po nagbanggit ng testing, tapos nagbanggit rin po siya ng registration. Kami po ay gusto lang maklaro kung ano ba talaga ang iatas na sa amin in full. Thank you.
Ma'am, nakalagay dito, for example, the FDA should ensure the products conform with the labeling and packaging requirements. Kaya naman yun, di ba? For example, 100 ml. Kaya niyong malaman kung 100 ml?
Thank you po. We do have the capability to evaluate finished form product po.
So can we correct that? The FDA shall give them the word finished form, Mr. Chair, para hindi naman undue burden sa kanila to register, and maybe we can make it clear the registration only is there what we need to require from them.
Okay, can you please state that for the record? What additional phrases you'd like to include in this section?
Well, I think the word potency, consistency, safety, and efficacy are scaring them. They don't have the testing capability. Is that correct?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Opo, currently po.
Maybe we can say the FDA shall ensure its mandate of product registration for finished medical cannabis products. Is that correct? Simplified?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pwede po kasi mandato naman namin siya.
The FDA shall ensure its mandate of product registration on all medical cannabis products.
Oh, mas technical na lang yung ano dito eh. So easily you can discuss this with your agency. Yes, Congressman
I
Gato.
think it should remain with the FDA. The only problem I heard is that they don't have the capability to test the potency, among others. Therefore, then we give them the capability to do the potency testing. Because otherwise, if we transfer it to MCO, ganun din. Kailangan din natin ng capability ng MCO to determine the potency.
Hindi
So we
kasi,
might as well,
I'm talking to FDA, marami naman drugs na coming in that they don't have the capability to test. When you import a CT scan, di ba ma'am, you have to do product registration, but do you have the technical machinery to test it? So I think the solution there is if it's already accredited in 2 to 3 first world or developed countries, they adapt that. Is that correct?
Yeah, in fact kasama yun sa kanila eh. If it is a best practice in other nations, you can just adapt it, di ba? Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the Food and Drug Administration, we do have a criteria on when a product will be allowed to be placed in the market. We do have we evaluate according to the common technical documents. Hindi po siya ura-urada kahit available from another country. We have to evaluate it and we can use reliance. We do have processes that would allow us to look at reliance. However, hindi po porket available, say for example, in a recognized country, ay pwede na natin na payagan kaagad na imerkado.
No, we're not
Meron po
saying that,
tayong
ma'am, but if it's
panuntunan.
already available in the US, UK, highly advanced countries like Japan, that carries weight, right? We're not saying it's automatic. That's why all products require FDA, kahit makeup nga, di ba? Di ba? Even makeup. Is that correct? Even makeup. We're not even talking about medicine. You accredit makeup, cosmetics. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair,
what I'm saying.
through notification.
So how do you test cosmetics?
My indulgence, Mr. Chair, I am not part of the Center for Cosmetics or
No, what I'm saying is lang, what you're practicing with other products, even if you're not 100% capable, I think you can follow the same
You can
standard.
do the same. Okay.
Meaning, kung nga accredited sa UK, US, Japan, na mga highly, you still test the documents. Kung meron naman studies na, that's what you do, right? Based on your limited capability, right? Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Meron po kaming mga proseso just to make sure that the ones available in the Philippine market is according to standards.
Okay,
Thank you
sige.
po.
So thank you. Ma'am, yes, you're recognized.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I mean, we're talking now about the FDA and the red tape, but what we should be talking about is really the provision in the committee report. I was looking at the RA 3720, the act that created the FDA, and it said the FDA shall administer the Food and Drug Act. So if you read the title of the act, it's an act to ensure the safety and purity of foods, drugs, and cosmetics being made available to the public. So maybe we should just simplify it and repeat that the FDA shall ensure the safety and purity of medical cannabis being made available to the authorized patients, whatever.
Yes, and in addition to that, you can refer also to Section 8, no, of the proposed legislation. If I may read, dun sa last sentence niya, provided that if a medical cannabis product has been determined to be effective and safe and duly registered in the country from where the medical cannabis will be imported, such determination shall be adopted by the FDA. unless there is strong evidence to the contrary. So very clear po yun. At teka.
Mr.
sige.
Chair, I think as I mentioned earlier and mentioned by former President, one-liner na lang, yung mandate nila. That the FDA shall guarantee the safety, quality, purity, efficacy of medical cannabis products.
Yun na.
Period.
Para hindi complicated.
Yun yung mandate nila eh.
Yeah. Okay.
Shall ensure, sorry.
Okay.
Shall ensure. Kaya nga walang determination dun.
Okay. So, we're okay with that? Okay. Si Mr. Manansala, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ulitin ko lang po ulit yung niraise na issue ng FDA kasi kami rin po gusto naming malinawan dyan. Para po magkaroon ng produkto maibenta sa merkado, kailangan natin yung Certificate of Product Registration na may numero, kunyari CPR number 100103. Sino po ang mag-i-issue noon for medical cannabis? Yung MCO o FDA pa rin? Isa pa po, pangalawa.
Hindi
Para makapag-operate ka ng kahit na na may kinalaman sa food and drug, kailangan po rin yung LTO, yung license to operate na ini-issue ng FDA. May numero din po yun, LTO number sa blah 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 blah. Sino po ang mag-i-issue ng equivalent ng license to operate?
Okay.
MCO or
Sige
FDA?
Well, as proposed in this law, hindi naman ho natin binabago yung mandato ng FDA. Sila pa rin ho yun. Sila pa rin mag-i-issue ng LTO, sila pa rin mag-i-issue nung product registration. Kasi under naman po sila ng DOH eh. Ito pong unit ng MCO is a unit under the Department of Health eh. So, syempre, mag-uusap. Alam mo, internal na lang siguro ito. We are not amending or changing the mandate of the FDA.
Baka po maganda na do sa role of the Food and Drug Administration, maging very explicit yun that the FDA shall continue to issue the license to operate and the certificate of product registration so that the participants in the market will also be clearly guided kung sino ang lalapitan at hindi
Sige,
yung...
Mr. Chair, dagdagan na lang natin yung mention that the FDA shall ensure the efficacy, quality as mandated in Republic Act. Di ganun. Kasi may mandate na kasi sila eh. It's clear. It's clear.
We cannot change yung mandato po nila. So it's not MCO who will issue the permits and licenses. Sila pa rin po yun. Okay.
Yan.
Okay, Congressman Dagan.
Malinaw naman po yung Section 8. Yung trabaho nila ngayon under their mandate, no? Will continue in as far as medical cannabis is concerned. Yun lang naman po. Kung ano yung proseso nila sa registration, ay yan din po ang gagawin nila sa medical cannabis before distribution.
So,
Section 9.
Last na lang ito, FDA ah. O, sige.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Ang hawak po ng FDA ay finished product. Hindi po namin hawak ang raw. We will do what our mandate asks us to do, but on the finished product lang po talaga ang pwede rin naming hawakan.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you,
clear
Mr.
naman.
Chair.
Ma'am, very clear naman, ma'am. Wala naman sinasabing raw eh.
Yeah.
Ma'am.
Hindi ho kayong gagawa ng medical cannabis. Kayo lang ho magre-register. Okay, sige. Thank you. Maraming salamat po. Okay. Now we move on to the next. We move on to section, ano na tayo? Section 9. Yeah, okay. Section 9, any comments?
Tatanggalin.
Section 9, any comments from our members?
Okay na yan.
From our resource persons, wala. Okay, thank you. We now move on to section 10, cultivation, importation, production, and distribution. Any comments?
Okay na yan.
Okay. Yung omnibus motion ni Congresswoman Luis earlier to include DDB will also apply in this section. Okay, so it will now read MCO with DDB. Anything else? Any comment?
Sa 11 na ba tayo?
Sa section 10 pa rin, last,
Okay.
before we move on to 11. So, none. We now move on to section 11.
Mr. Chair, yung concern kanina ng SUCs nandito naman malinaw eh. The MCO may subject to the guarantee shall promulgate authorized government and accredited private institutions. So wide-ranging government, hindi lang SUCs.
Sige. Is that
State college universities rin, nandun naman pala. Nandun na rin pala.
This is the issue that you were raising earlier, Pitak, no? Ms.
Yes,
Torres.
yes, Mr. Chair. Just for consistency with the other section lang po. Okay. Kasi the other section did not indicate the other government institutions po.
Yeah. Kasi yung research is a special section in this law. That's correct. Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, section 12. Section 12. Ito. Lapit na. Ako naman, I have a proposal. My proposal is the MCO through DOH. Okay, through DOH. Ilagay lang natin yung phrase na through DOH. Okay? Anyway, the MCO is under the DOH. It's not it's not going to affect the intent and the spirit of the law anyway. We just wanted to include the phrase through the DOH. So the MCO through the DOH shall submit an annual report to the President of the Philippines, the Senate President, and the Speaker of the House. Okay? So, okay, since everybody agreed to that proposal, now we move on to section 13, Joint Congressional Oversight Committee. My suggestion is we should put an amount in this particular joint oversight committee. Amount, yeah, in the annual review of the implementation of this act. There must be similar sa Dangerous Committee on Dangerous Drugs and Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs in the Senate. Merong oversight committee which has a budget. So we'll just open this and subsequent discussions. Maybe in the plenary we can include an amount here. Yeah, we'll just probably ask what is viable. Kasi we cannot, personally cannot determine what is viable amount in the oversight committee. Unless you have an idea, we can consider that. So, and in the members of the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee, in the TWG committee report, hindi ho nasama yung Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs in the Senate. Only the Committee on Health. So I suggest that we include the Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs in the Senate. So, okay. Thank you. So, any more comments on section 13? If there's none, we move on to section 14. Section 14, acts or omissions committed in violation of this act. May I suggest that we add shall be punishable under existing laws. Any comments? Okay. So we will in the original committee report, it states, ano ba yun? Saan na yun? So we will delete the said Hindi ko makita, ang liit eh.
Mr.
Ito.
Chair,
Yes, Congressman Goles.
may I just ask, what is the basis of the penalties imposed in section 14?
Mr. Chair, may we solicit the opinion of the DOJ because this was my question during the report of the TWG, whether the proposed penalties are commensurate to the perceived violations of this act. Under section 14, we proposed 500,000 to 1 million or imprisonment of not less than 6 months, but not more than 6 years. With a given penalty, Mr. Chair, it belongs to the jurisdiction of the lower court, that is the municipal trial court. Nonetheless, let us hear from the experts, the prosecutors, Mr. Chair.
Okay. DOJ?
Thank you, Madam Representative, Mr. Chair. With regard to the commensurism of the penalty with the acts, that is also something that we would formalize and have to raise in our formal position because
hardly hear.
Yeah, can you please speak louder, ma'am?
Mr. Chair, Madam Representative, that is also something that the department would raise in our formal position paper if these are really the intent of the honorable body to make these the basis, to make these the penalties for the provisions, for the violations of the act. So it's also something that we will be raising.
If I may, Congresswoman Luistro, for clarity, my proposal is to delete the whole section 14 provision and replace it with just a simple section 40. It will be read like this: penalties. Acts or omissions committed in violation of this act shall be punishable under existing laws. I think that's simpler, more clearer, and mas madaling, walang ambiguity. What do you think? Is DOJ?
Mr. Chair, these are just initial comments, but if the honorable body wishes to legislate that, there may be some acts or omissions that are in this substitute bill that are actually also not covered by other existing laws. For example, in 9165, wait a minute. So Mr. Chair, there may be some acts that are proposed here in the substitute bill that are not covered by 9165 or other existing laws.
Can you educate us which acts that are not included in the 9165 that we included in this proposed bill?
Mr. Chair, actually, if I may be very candid, what we were given is a different version of the substitute bill that we are working now. We're actually not
Baka
quite sure.
Senate version yan.
No, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, no. Ibang version po. So we're
The
actually,
DOJ has the same version.
we were emailed.
And perhaps you overheard my other inputs during the report of the TWG because the later part of the report is not in the substitute bill. I made mention of the possible violation of the medical cannabis law